Chapter 308. Kid, don't be so smug. Even if you get the wealth today, you won't be alive to spend it. Just you wait. Family Zhao's saint is about to descend. The moment Family Zhao's saint descends, it will be the moment of your death. Zhao Xiong roared angrily as he watched the wealth in his empty ring being taken away. He had to wait now. He had to wait until Family Zhao's saint descends. Once Family Zhao's saint descends, defeating Chu Fengyan would be a piece of cake. No matter how powerful a wind-controlling realm warrior was, he was no match for a saint. Is that so? Even if Family Zhao's saint descends, he will still have to kneel today. Chu Fengyan's expression was extremely calm. Even when he heard about a saint, his expression did not change. To Chu Fengyan, a saint was nothing to be afraid of. More than 1 or 2 saints had died in Chu Fengyan's hands. What an arrogant kid. A mere ant dares to challenge a saint. You overestimate yourself. Suddenly, the sky changed color, and an incomparably deep voice came from the sky. In the sky, one could see an incomparably huge figure that looked like a god. This figure was enough to cover the sky and cover the sun. In this voice, there was an endless pressure that made people who heard it feel uncontrollably fearful. This kind of voice could even change the sky and earth. The owner of this voice was definitely a terrifying figure. A saint, Qianya, who was standing beside Chu Fengyan, could not help but tremble. This kind of power only belonged to a saint. A saint has descended. Family Zhao's saint has finally appeared. I wonder which Family Zhao's saint it is. Listening to the voice, it seems to be Family Zhao's grand elder, the supreme saint, Zhao Pudi. He's Family Zhao's new saint, known as Family Zhao's Little Invincible. I've heard of this person. He's less than 100 years old and has stepped into the saint realm. He's simply the next Zhao Wudi, Family Zhao's Little Invincible. It's actually this fierce person who has descended. Let's go. Zhao Pudi is a fierce person. If he finds out that we're here to watch the show, he'll definitely kill us. Countless onlookers were ready to leave, but that figure had already descended. As the figure descended, an endless amount of killing intent gushed out from his body, turning into an endless amount of power that swept through everything. Countless martial artists who were watching from the sidelines were killed in an instant. A saint, even a half-step sage, was like an ant that could be easily annihilated. You trash. How dare you make a joke of Zhao, make a joke of family. All of you die. As soon as Zhao Pudi appeared, all the spiritual energy in his body burst out. With a single move, he killed hundreds of cultivators present. All of them died tragically at his hands. This Zhao Pudi was simply the representative of the Zhao family's arrogant characters. He even wanted to kill those who were just spectators. Grand S, save us, Grand S. Zhao Xiong and Zhao Chun knelt on the ground and shouted loudly when they saw Zhao Pudi appear. Trash! You two trash are simply a disgrace to Family Zhao. From today onwards, you'll be Family Zhao's lowest servants. Your status will be stripped. This will be your punishment. Zhao Pudi looked at Zhao Xiong and Zhao Chun, who were kneeling on the ground, angrily said. The two of them were now kneeling here, which was a disgrace to Family Zhao. Zhao Pudi was extremely angry. Zhao Xiong, who was kneeling on the ground, didn't answer Zhao Pudi's curses. Instead, he shouted loudly, Yes, this is all our fault, but I ask Grandis to kill this kid. The extreme immortal weapon that Family Head wants has now been snatched away by this kid. What? You lost the extreme immortal weapon that Family Head wants. Zhao Pudi was furious when he heard Zhao Xiong's words. Zhao Wudi was the head of Family Zhao, a truly invincible figure. All the disciples of Family Zhao worshipped Zhao Wudi very much. He, Zhao Pudi, was known as the Little Invincible. He worshipped Zhao Wudi very much and wanted to become the second Zhao Wudi. Now that he heard that the extreme immortal weapon that Zhao Wudi wanted had been snatched away by Chu Fengyan, it was simply a blasphemy to him. It was more painful and angry than killing his parents. How dare you, little bastard, hand over the extreme immortal weapon, kneel on the ground, and kill yourself to wash away your sins. Zhao Pudi looked at Chu Fengyan and angrily roared. His every word was extremely arrogant. And you, Chinya, although you're a member of the Twilight Pavilion, you've also committed a great sin by hanging out with this little bastard. Zhao Chun has been pursuing you, so I'll spare your life. Now, kneel down obediently and cripple your cultivation. As Zhao Chun's anger, I'll spare your life. What? Before Chu Fumian could speak, Chinya's face was filled with anger. What? If you don't want to, then I'll capture you now and cripple your cultivation. As for the Twilight Pavilion, they've also committed a great sin by doing business with this little bastard. They must hand over all their wealth to family Zhao. Murderous intent emerged between Zhao Peti's brows. He smiled coldly and clawed at Qianya. This claw was going to cripple Qianya's cultivation. He really intended to make her Zhao Chun's slave. A saint attack wasn't something Qianya could contend against. She didn't even notice that Zhao Peti's claw had already arrived in front of Qianya. What a reckless brat. It seems that family Zhao's people are a bunch of idiots. Each one is more arrogant than the other. Chu Fumian was angry and laughing at the same time. This Zhao Peti was known as the Little Invincible. He really thought that he was invincible. His arrogance made Chu Fumian want to laugh. You're just a newly ascended saint, and you think you can contend against me. You even dare to lay your hands on my people. Today, I'll break your claw first. Let's see how arrogant you can be in the future. Chu Fumian's figure suddenly moved. Just as Zhao Peti's claw was about to reach him, Chu Fumian clenched his hand into a fist and smashed it at Zhao Peti. Little bastard, I haven't killed you yet, but you're courting death? Do you really think that you can contend against a saint with countless fortuitous encounters? Today I'll tell you, the power of a saint isn't something that an ant like you can contend against. Seeing Chu Fumian's sudden attack, Zhao Peti's claw suddenly changed direction and clawed at Chu Fumian. A claw and a fist collided in the air. Die. Chapter 309. Zhao Peti already knew that Chu Fumian's chest would be pierced by his claw in the next moment. Brat, you dare to provoke family Zhao. Today, you will die without a doubt. Zhao Peti's spiritual energy burst out, and the power of his right claw became even more terrifying. Monstrous demon claw. Endless spiritual energy condensed on Zhao Peti's right claw, and suddenly, it turned into 100 feet long demon claw. The claw attacked, covering the sky and the earth. It was as if an ancient demon god had descended, terrifying to the extreme. This is a terrifying martial technique that Zhao Peti learned from an ancient cave. It's an ancient demonic martial technique, and its power is comparable to a high-grade, earth-level martial technique. The Prince of Bloodkill, who was hiding at the side, was shocked when he saw Zhao Peti's attack. Although he wasn't afraid of Zhao Peti, this claw was truly terrifying. It was an ancient demonic martial technique. The ancient demonic martial technique was extremely powerful. At that time, it could be said that everyone was a demon, and demons danced wildly. It was the most chaotic time in the world. Later, the righteous path prospered, and the demonic martial technique was suppressed. But now, the nine-demon city, which was left behind by the ancient demonic martial technique, was also one of the 7 great sects of the 9 regions. It could be seen how powerful the ancient demonic martial technique was. This person is actually fighting with family Zhao's little invincible, Zhao Peti. I'm afraid he's doomed. Although Zhao Peti is a newly ascended saint, he's still a saint. He's not someone a wind-resisting realm martial artist can contend with. Princess Tianyin, do you want me to save this person so that he will remember our royal family's kindness and be of use to us? No need. Let's watch the battle first. Princess Tianyin glanced at Chu Fumian and said in a low voice, I don't think this person will lose to Zhao Peti. How is that possible? Even if he's powerful, he's still in the wind-resisting realm. Zhao Peti is a saint, a gap that he can never cross. I'm afraid that he'll die within 3 moves. The Prince of Bloodkill was stunned when he heard Princess Tianyin's words, and then said in a deep voice, If we don't save this person now, I'm afraid there won't be a chance later. I'm afraid that Zhao Peti's move is enough to kill this person. There is only one outcome when a saint fought with a wind-resisting realm martial artist. It would be instant death. A saint even a newly promoted one, could kill a group of wind-controlling realm warriors with a wave of his hand. Now, Princess Tianyin actually said that Chu Fengyan could contend against Zhao Peti. This was the biggest joke in the world. Let's wait. Princess Tianyin said. Yes. The blood-kill Grand Prince nodded. Since Princess Tianyin didn't speak, he couldn't make a move. He could only continue to watch the battle between Chu Fengyan and Zhao Peti in the sky. Qianya closed his eyes as the monstrous, demonic claws approached. It was terrifying to the extreme. It was as if he had sensed his impending death. Both she and Chu Fengyan would undoubtedly die under this monstrous demonic claw. What monstrous devil claw? How dare you be so arrogant? Even those old guys from Nine Demon City wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous in front of me. Who do you think you are? Break for me. Above Chu Fengyan's fist wind, a dragon's roar suddenly erupted. Under this dragon's roar, his fist suddenly struck out. Under this punch, the monstrous demonic claw disintegrated layer by layer. In an instant, the 100-foot demonic claw was completely shattered. The boundless power of the backlash hit Zhao Peti's hand. His right hand suddenly exploded, turning into a blood mist that drifted in the air. The blood mist was completely devoured by Chu Fengyan. This blood mist was the blood essence of a saint. Of course, Chu Fengyan wouldn't let it go and wantonly devoured it. Zhao Peti let out a loud, blood-curdling screech. He had never experienced such pain from having his hand broken by someone before. Although his hand had recovered in an instant and looked as if it was brand new, the pain was still unable to be dispelled. What was even more unresolvable was the anger in his heart. A dignified saint, Family Zhao, the little invincible, an invincible figure like him had his hand broken. This made him, an invincible figure, furious to the extreme. His murderous intent had already emerged. The horizon turned blood red. When a saint was enraged, even the heavens and earth would change color. In the entire Nine Cauldron ancient city, everyone could feel Zhao Peti's anger. Zhao Peti roared madly and aggressively. The murderous intent on his body condensed to the extreme. Above the sky, demon gods drilled into Zhao Peti's body one after another, increasing his strength. It caused the power in his body to skyrocket. Little bastard, you actually hid your strength. You dare to plot against me. Why are you absolutely irreconcilable? Demon gods of the heavens, bless me. Die for me. Spiritual energy overflowed. On Zhao Peti's body, a crazy spiritual energy burst out. It all turned into a blade shadow in his hand. 1,000 demon beheading blade. It was as if thousands of ancient demons had slashed out at the same time. Zhao Peti's body was supported by the power of countless ancient demons. Under the saber strike, all of it exploded. This blade was the strongest blade, an invincible killing move of the ancient demon path. Zhao Peti had obtained it from the inheritance of an ancient demon path expert in the ancient cavern. With this slash, he had killed countless powerhouses. Even other saints were extremely wary of him. Trash like you, even if I bless you with the power of 10,000 ancient demon gods, you can't hurt a hair of mine. Looking at such a terrifying blade, Chu Fengyan's face was extremely calm, and his eyes were even full of disdain. So what if it was an invincible blade in the same realm? So what if it was the strongest blade of the ancient demon path? In front of Chu Fengyan, Zhao Peti was just an ant. No matter how powerful an ant was, could it overturn the heavens? Chu Fengyan waved his hand, and a barrier appeared in front of him. Chu Fengyan and Qianya's bodies were all hidden behind the barrier. The 1,000 demon execution blade slashed on Chu Fengyan's barrier, but it couldn't shake the barrier that Chu Fengyan casually condensed. This was a blade that could even kill a saint. Zhao Peti's strongest move was actually unable to shake Chu Fengyan in the slightest. This is impossible. Seeing the power of the 1,000 demon execution blade gradually dissipate, and when Chu Fengyan's barrier didn't have the slightest crack, Zhao Peti's face completely changed and became extremely panicked. He couldn't believe that his strongest move was actually useless in front of Chu Fengyan. Could it be that Chu Fengyan was really so terrifying? Have you played enough? Die for me. Chapter 310. Little bastard, don't be so arrogant. Zhao Pudi was also a saint, an invincible figure. He panicked when Chu Fumian easily dissolved his 1,000-demon beheading blade. However, now that he was in danger, he reacted immediately. In front of him, the shadows of the ancient demon gods appeared. The sky full of demon gods rushed to resist Chu Fumian's palm at the same time. But in front of Chu Fumian's palm, the sky full of demon gods was simply fragile to the extreme. They were all annihilated. Zhao Pudi, aren't you known as Family Zhao's little invincible? Arrogant and arrogant. Today, you will kneel and repent for me. Reflect. Chu Fumian's big hand moved and suddenly slapped down from the sky. The sky full of terrifying power suddenly swept over Zhao Pudi's body. This terrifying spiritual power made Zhao Pudi want to kneel on the ground. I won't kneel. I'm an invincible figure. I'm a saint. How can I be defeated by a wind-controlling realm warrior? Demon God is invincible. The world is a demon. Monstrous demonic intent burst out from Zhao Pudi's body. This Zhao Pudi cultivated an extremely terrifying ancient demonic technique. He was a demon himself. How could it be so easy to subdue a demon? A real demon couldn't be subdued by a saint. Suddenly, Zhao Pudi resisted. His spiritual power suddenly burst out, and his strength became stronger and stronger. He even wanted to contend with Chu Fumian. Under Chu Fumian's pressure, he also advanced his demonic technique. He even wanted to counterattack and kill Chu Fumian. Ancient demon god, lone demon incarnation. Zhao Pudi's body began to undergo various changes. Countless black scales grew out from his body, and a huge horn grew out from his head. He had completely transformed into a devil. His demonized appearance was that of a famous demon god from ancient times, Lone Demon. This lone demon was known to be able to tear the sky and split the earth with a palm. It was incomparably terrifying. Now that Zhao Pudi had transformed into Lone Demon, his strength soared to the extreme with the support of Lone Demon's power. He actually tore a hole in Chu Fumian's oppressive spiritual power. Boy, do you really think you can suppress me? Thank you for letting me advance a step under pressure and achieve great success in my demonic technique. Let me kill you. Eat your flesh and blood. Zhao Pudi roared like a real demon god. The spiritual energy on his body was still surging as he madly charged at Chu Fumian. Not good. This Zhao Pudi is actually taking advantage of this opportunity to master his devil arts. Qinya's expression greatly changed when he saw Zhao Pudi's change. Zhao Pudi's demonic arts had originally been a minor accomplishment, only a step away from great accomplishment, but he was unable to break through. But now, under the pressure of Chu Fumian, Zhao Pudi had broken through instead. His demonic arts had reached great success, and he could transform into an ancient demonic god. His strength was several times more terrifying than before. It doesn't matter. Like I said, ants will always be ants. No matter how much they struggle, they won't be able to overturn the heavens. Chu Fumian said calmly without even blinking. In Chu Fumian's eyes, Zhao Pudi's resistance was simply the struggle of an ant. If Zhao Pudi's strength improved further and reached the third level of the divine force realm, Chu Fumian might still feel some trepidation. However, such a newly ascended saint didn't have the qualifications to be taken seriously by Chu Fumian. Kneel for me. Chu Fumian's eyes widened. Endless dragons might erupted from Chu Fumian's body, and at the same time, his hand suddenly pressed down. Zhao Pudi's body suddenly stopped in the air, and then under this huge force, he actually began to kneel. This is impossible. Prince of Bloodkill, who was observing all this from the side, simply shouted out, not concealing his surprise at all. Who was Zhao Pudi? Family Zhao's little invincible. He had just ascended to the saint realm, and now his demonic arts had reached great success. If Prince of Bloodkill fought with him, he could only barely defeat the current Zhao Pudi. But to make Zhao Pudi kneel? Perhaps only someone at the peak of the saint realm, who didn't care about the threat of life and death, could do this. But now, Zhao Pudi, who had reached great success in his demonic arts, was actually firmly suppressed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian was actually able to do something that he couldn't do. Chu Fengmian hadn't stepped into the saint realm, and he wasn't even a half-step saint. How would he not be surprised? This person, is he still a human? Prince of Bloodkill muttered to himself. The power of Chu Fengmian in front of him actually made him feel threatened, and even his heart couldn't help but have a trace of fear. Fear. He, Prince of Bloodkill, who was at the 4th level of the divine power realm, actually felt afraid in front of Chu Fengmian. In front of a wind-resisting realm warrior, he was afraid. This made Prince of Bloodkill unwilling to admit it, but his heart couldn't lie to himself. The Chu Fengmian in front of him indeed had the ability to make him afraid. Boom, boom, boom. From Zhaopadi's body, countless martial arts and innumerable violent forces were unleashed, trying to break Chu Fengmian's oppressive spiritual force. But no matter what force he used, he couldn't shake Chu Fengmian in the slightest. It was like a mayfly trying to shake a tree. I won't kneel. My bloodline is noble. I have obtained the inheritance of the ancient demonic arts. I am the one who will revive the ancient demonic arts in the future. I will never kneel. On Zhaopadi's body, black blood vessels actually appeared. His crazily skyrocketing strength came from these blood vessels. Demonic blood. Chu Fengmian looked at the black blood vessels and laughed. Seems like you really have a fortuitous encounter. You actually have demonic blood. This demonic blood was the blood of a true ancient demonic god. Although Chu Fengmian didn't know which demonic god it came from, every drop of demonic blood was not inferior to a drop of ancient war dragon's blood essence. If this demonic blood was extracted and refined, it would be more useful than countless spiritual herbs. It could increase Chu Fengmian's strength. Deprive. Chu Fengmian waved his hand, and a wound appeared on Zhaopadi's body. Countless amounts of black blood were extracted from Zhaopadi's blood vessels. Each drop of demonic blood contained extremely terrifying demonic nature and incomparably vast and pure spiritual force. No, my demonic blood, my strength. You actually dare to deprive me of my strength. I want you to die. I want you to die. Zhaopadi felt that the demonic blood in his body was being deprived by Chu Fengmian continuously and crazily roared. Now that he had transformed into a lone demon, his roars were incomparably ear-piercing, causing Chu Fengmian to be extremely irritated. Shut up. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted and made a grabbing motion with his hand. Suddenly, Zhaopadi's tongue was grabbed by Chu Fengmian, making him unable to speak again. Countless drops of demonic blood were extracted by Chu Fengmian, causing Zhaopadi's strength to dissipate by more than half. His strength came from the demonic blood. Now, he no longer had the strength to resist. Chapter 311. In everyone's eyes, the scene before them was absolutely spectacular. Zhaopadi, Zhao Xiong, Zhao Chun, and family Zhao were all lined up in a row, kneeling before Chu Fengmian, motionless. Zhao Xiong and Zhao Chun were only half-saints, peak Imperial Wind Realm martial artists. Kneeling down wasn't too surprising. But Zhaopadi was a saint, not a half-saint. He was a saint who had truly stepped into the divine force realm. He, who was known as Family Zhao's Little Invincible, was actually defeated by Chu Fengmian, kneeling before him. This was simply a great humiliation. Boundless hatred pervaded Zhaopadi's body. But no matter how angry Zhaopadi was, he couldn't shake Chu Fengmian's power. Chu Fengmian's power firmly shrouded him, making him kneel on the ground obediently. Moreover, the demon blood in his body, the source of his power, was now being crazily extracted by Chu Fengmian. Qianyu was shocked in her heart, but she was a meticulous person. Soon, she understood everything. She looked at Chu Fengmian and said, "Mr. Chu, if this matter continues, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to resolve. Why don't you take a step back and let Zhaopadi go? As long as Zhaopadi is fine, Family Zhao won't shed all pretense of cordiality with you for Zhao Xiong and Zhao Chun." Zhao Xiong and Zhao Chun weren't saints. For a big Family Zhao, peak Imperial Wind Realm martial artists couldn't be said to be insignificant, but a few of them wouldn't hurt Family Zhao. Even if Chu Fengmian killed the two of them today, it wouldn't cause too much of a stir. It would be fine as long as Zhaopadi was released. After all, Zhaopadi was a saint, a true genius of Family Zhao. Family Zhao had pinned his hopes on him, a person who would attack life and death realm in the future. If Chu Fengmian killed Zhaopadi now, then Chu Fengmian and Family Zhao wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Family Zhao's hidden antiques would all make a move to kill Chu Fengmian. Shed all pretense of cordiality? If Family Zhao is willing to come, then I will gladly oblige. Chu Fengmian snorted. Chu Fengmian, had never been afraid of anyone. So what if it was Family Zhao? So what if it was Zhao Wudi? Chu Fengmian, was never afraid of these people. Strip them all away. The moment Chu Fengmian spoke, the spiritual power in his palm became even more intense, and it immediately turned into a godly, sky-devouring python. In the blink of an eye, 100 drops of devil blood were extracted from Zhaopadi's bloodline by Chu Fengmian. As soon as the drops of devilish blood appeared in the air, they transformed into numerous gargoyles that lunged madly toward Chu Fengmian. A mere demonic bloodline that possesses a bit of demonic nature wants to resist? Destroy them all. Chu Fengmian waved his hand, and an incomparably mysterious palm suddenly struck out. Under the impact of the endless spiritual energy, the 100 demons formed by the demon blood in the air were all smashed by Chu Fengmian's palm. The demonic nature in the drops of devil blood dissipated along with the destruction of the gargoyles, turning into extremely pure spiritual power. The devil blood was originally the fusion of spiritual power and demonic nature. Now that Chu Fengmian had destroyed all the demonic nature in one move, what was left was the purest spiritual power. The pureness of the spiritual power was much stronger than any elixir. Chu Fengmian opened his mouth, and 100 drops of devil blood merged into Chu Fengmian's body. Behind Chu Fengmian, the image of the ancient war dragon's phantom forcibly condensed another 100 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence. 300 drops. A total of 300 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence had already condensed on Chu Fengmian's body. Endless spiritual power burst out from Chu Fengmian's body, and in an instant, the spiritual power in Chu Fengmian's body skyrocketed. In an instant, his realm also rose to the 5th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. He broke through. This person actually refined Zhaopadi's devil blood? Isn't he afraid of being affected by the devil blood? The 5th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. This person's realm is actually the Imperial Wind Realm. A Imperial Wind Realm martial artist can actually defeat Zhaopadi. Is this world crazy? Chu Fengmian's breakthrough allowed countless people to see Chu Fengmian's true realm. Originally, everyone was guessing that Chu Fengmian must be a saint, but he hid his realm. Because everyone had heard this saying before, those who did not enter the saint realm were all ants. Not to mention an Imperial Wind Realm martial artist. Even a half-saint could not compete with a true saint. Chu Fengmian could defeat Zhaopadi, so he must be at least a saint. But now, Chu Fengmian had broken through. Although the aura on his body was extremely terrifying, Chu Fengmian's realm was clearly displayed. Chu Fengmian was at the 5th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. Before he broke through, he was only at the 3rd level of the Imperial Wind Realm. The scene in front of everyone's eyes simply impacted the hearts of countless people present. You're already worthless. Tell me, how do you want to die? Chu Fengmian slowly opened his eyes. Feeling the power emerging from his body, the corner of his mouth revealed a smile. Today, this Chu is in a good mood. Tell me how you want to die. This Chu will fulfill your wish. You want to kill me? Zhaopadi's tongue was crushed by Chu Fengmian, but his consciousness could still speak. Chu Fengmian deliberately relaxed his pressure, allowing him to finally speak. Zhaopadi's heart was still extremely calm. Even if his demon blood was taken away, he could only resent Chu Fengmian. He did not think of fear. But now, Chu Fengmian's words made Zhaopadi's eyes full of horror. How dare you kill me? He could not imagine that Chu Fengmian would dare to kill him. Zhaopadi originally thought that Chu Fengmian made him kneel because Chu Fengmian did not dare to kill him and could only humiliate him. He was Zhao Pudi, a saint of family Zhao. Could it be that Chu Fumian dared to kill him without regard for family Zhao? You think this Chu does not dare? Chu Fumian suddenly laughed. This laughter made Zhao Pudi's heart turn cold when he heard it. Brat, so what if you're strong? Can you contend against our family Zhao? Our family Zhao has more than a dozen saints. If you dare to kill me, you will be besieged by more than a dozen saints. Zhao Pudi coldly roared. He did not want to die. He was only 100 years old, but he had already stepped into the divine force realm and became a saint. He was simply a peerless genius with a boundless future. He loudly threatened. He did not believe that Chu Fumian would not be afraid of family Zhao. In the entire Qin Empire, there was no one who dared to not be afraid of family Zhao. Even a peak saint would not dare to kill him. Are you threatening me? Chu Fumian's eyes revealed a hint of playfulness. A threat. Chu Fumian had not encountered anyone who threatened him for a long time, because those who dared to threaten Chu Fumian were all dead now. Seeing that Chu Fumian did not make a move, Zhao Pudi's heart calmed down and his confidence multiplied. He thought that Chu Fumian was afraid of his words. Thank you for the end of the song. People disperse. Things are gone. People are no longer worryless. The setting sun is yours. A reward. Chapter 3:12. Zhao Pudi didn't see the disdain hidden in Chu Fumian's eyes. That's right. I'm threatening you. Zhao Pudi was incomparably confident as he shouted. Kid, your strength is indeed incomparably powerful. But no matter how powerful you are, you're still not a saint. You can defeat me, but can you defeat the joint forces of more than 10 saints from family Zhao? Now obediently let me go and admit your mistake. Submit to me and become my slave. That's your only chance of survival. Otherwise, only death awaits you. The more Zhao Pudi spoke, the more confident he became. In his opinion, as long as Chu Fumian calmed down and considered the gains and losses, he would understand the strength of family Zhao. In this way, Chu Fumian would fear him and wouldn't dare to kill him. He might even submit under his coercion. Why aren't you letting me go? Before Zhao Pudi could finish his words, a bloody aura suddenly enveloped Zhao Pudi's body. The flesh and blood on Zhao Pudi's body began to peel off layer by layer, shattering apart. Countless pieces of flesh and blood separated from Zhao Pudi's body and abruptly exploded, turning into clumps of bloody mist that were completely devoured by the blood qi. Stop! Almost at the same time, a force suddenly enveloped Chu Fumian's body. It caused the surrounding space to undergo a drastic change, as if they had arrived at a completely different space. Domain? Chu Fumian raised his brows. Right at this moment, an aged arm suddenly appeared out of thin air and grabbed at Zhao Pudi, taking his body away. Who dares to interfere in this Chu's matter? This old man was obviously a saint, and his strength far surpassed Zhao Pudi's by a great deal. Even Chu Fumian had only just reacted to his sudden attack. This was a saint at least at the 5th level of the divine power realm. He was an expert among saints. But no matter who it was, Chu Fumian wouldn't back down since he dared to interfere in this matter. Bring it to me. Chu Fumian's mind also moved, and an arm of spiritual energy suddenly grabbed towards the direction where Zhao Pudi was taken, intending to bring Zhao Pudi back. Humph. The old saint also snorted coldly and suddenly sent a palm strike at Chu Fumian. A junior is truly arrogant to the extreme. This old man will teach you a lesson today. The elder snorted coldly and was extremely furious. Chu Fumian actually dared to attack him. According to his thinking, the reason why he let Zhao Pudi go today was to ease the relationship between the two sides and also to suppress Chu Fumian. Chu Fumian was really too arrogant. A wind-resisting realm junior was already so arrogant. Then what status would a saint have in the future? Chu Fumian had to endure being suppressed. This was what the elder thought. He was a saint, while Chu Fumian was merely a wind-resisting realm warrior. Chu Fumian deserved to be taught a lesson by him. The old man did not expect that Chu Fumian would actually dare to attack him. Who do you think you are? Where did this old fellow come from? You're saying that I'm arrogant to the extreme? I think you're the arrogant one. You dare to snatch someone from my hands. If I take Zhao Pidi away today, others will think that I'm a soft persimmon that can be pinched by anyone. Chu Fengmian's face was filled with anger. Endless killing intent condensed on Chu Fengmian's body, then appeared and merged with the sword in his hand. The slaughtering sword art was instantly executed. It turned into a 100-foot-long trail of blood and slashed at the old man. "Sneaky old fellow, get out here." The 100-zhong-long blood marks streaked across the space, and unexpectedly, countless cracks appeared in the domain. The elder's palm strike was instantly shattered, and at the same time, his figure was suddenly exposed. This person is the Deputy Commander of the Destruction Legion, a saint at the 5th level of the Divine Power Realm. Yuan Kun? It's actually him. Why would someone from the Destruction Legion come to save Zhao Pidi? Could it be that the Destruction Legion has already sided with Family Zhao? This is a big matter. The 3 great legions have always kept each other in check. The Destruction Legion has always been neutral. Why would he come to save Zhao Pidi today? In the Qin Empire, there were 3 great legions. The first was the Invincible Legion, and Zhao Wudi was the commander of the Invincible Legion. The second legion was the Qin Emperor Legion. It was led by the Imperial family. The third legion was the Destruction Legion, and it had always been neutral. Now, the deputy commander of the Destruction Legion, Yuan Kun, had actually come to save Zhao Pidi. This was thought-provoking. This person is going to suffer. This Yuan Kun is not Zhao Pidi. He's an expert at the 5th level of the Divine Power Realm, and he's the deputy commander of the Destruction Legion. His status is extremely high. Countless people looked at Yuan Kun and spoke out. Yuan Kun was a veteran saint. He had stepped into the Divine Power Realm for several hundred years, and he was also the deputy commander of the Destruction Legion. He had fought countless battles, and his strength was extremely strong. Today, no matter how strong Chu Fengmian was, he would fall in front of a big tree like Yuan Kun. "Junior, today I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and submit to me. Join the Destruction Legion and work for my Destruction Legion. If you do, I'll go to Family Zhao and ask him to let you live." Yuan Kun looked at Chu Fengmian and said. Chu Fengmian's strength was indeed astonishing. Moreover, Chu Fengmian was only in the wind-controlling realm, which was enough to defeat Zhao Pidi. Obviously, Chu Fengmian had countless fortuitous encounters. As long as Yuan Kun could make Chu Fengmian submit and take him as a subordinate, when he joined the Destruction Legion, he would naturally use all kinds of methods to force Chu Fengmian to tell him about his fortuitous encounters. At that time, he would be able to control Chu Fengmian and make him his slave. A trace of greed flashed in Yuan Kun's eyes. Chu Fengmian's strength made him yearn for it. Today, he would definitely not let Chu Fengmian go. He had to make Chu Fengmian submit and find a chance to take away all of Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters. Chu Fengmian understood Yuan Kun's thoughts in a flash. The corners of Chu Fengmian's mouth curled into a mocking smile. "What deputy commander of the Destruction Legion? Yuan Kun? You're just an ignorant old man. How dare you sneak attack me? If you don't give me an explanation today, don't even think about leaving unscathed." Chu Fengmian's words were extremely arrogant. If Yuan Kun, the deputy commander of the Destruction Legion, didn't give him an explanation today, he wouldn't be able to leave unscathed? "You? What did you say?" Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Yuan Kun was stunned. The words "ignorant old man" kept repeating in his mind. As the deputy commander of the Destruction Legion, when had anyone dared to call him an ignorant old man? Even Zhao Wudi didn't dare. Chapter 313. What an arrogant young man. I'm trying to help you out of the goodness of my heart. How dare you be so arrogant? Audacious. Truly audacious. Unforgivable. Yuan Kun was trembling with anger. He roared crazily, and his spiritual energy exploded to the extreme. "Today, you will kneel down and beg for mercy. I won't let you go." 5 elements reversal. Yin and Yang reversal. 5 elements reversal. Yin and Yang reversal array. Suppress him. Yuan Kun's 5 fingers condensed 5 types of 5 elements spiritual energy and formed a huge array. He charged at Chu Fengmian and suppressed him. This is Yuan Kun's secret skill. The 5 elements reversal grand superpower. Once it's used, Even a saint would be suppressed and unable to escape. Yuan-kun must have had a fortuitous encounter to be able to comprehend the 5 elements reversal grand superpower. This move was famous in the Qin Empire. Yuan-kun had once used this move to capture several saints of the enemy countries and was famous for it. With this move, Yuan-kun intended to completely suppress Chu Fengmian. A skill that could suppress a saint would be a piece of cake for him to deal with Chu Fengmian. Oh no! Help him! Princess Tian-yin shouted to Prince of Bloodkill when she saw Yuan-kun speaking. If Chu Fengmian was suppressed by Yuan-kun and fell into Yuan-kun's hands, Chu Fengmian would be begging for death. She planned to rope Chu Fengmian in to help them deal with family Zhao. She couldn't let Chu Fengmian be suppressed by Yuan-kun. Yes, Prince of Bloodkill nodded with a solemn expression. His body flashed and turned into a ray of crimson light as he dashed out. Another saint is here. Who is he? He has a bloody aura. Could he be Prince of Bloodkill? Deputy Commander Yuan, please stop. You're a saint, yet you're attacking a junior like this. Isn't that inappropriate? Prince of Bloodkill appeared, and a bloody aura burst out, forming a bloody aura barrier in front of Chu Fengmian. Prince of Bloodkill appeared with a solemn expression. Yuan-kun was stronger than him. If Yuan-kun really wanted to suppress Chu Fengmian, he wouldn't be able to stop him. What? Bloodkill Prince, you want to stop this old man? Yuan-kun sneered when he saw the Bloodkill Prince. Why is the imperial family protecting this kid? This person was specifically requested by Princess Tianyin. Please understand, Deputy Commander Yuan. Prince of Bloodkill said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. He was also a prince of the Qin Empire, a saint of the generation. Even if he was not as strong as Yuan-kun, he could not afford to lose his prestige. Yuan-kun's eyes flickered as if she was calculating the gains and losses. So what if Princess Tianyin wants it? The Shatter Legion doesn't belong to the imperial family. This person insulted me today. I can protect him, but he has to give me an explanation. What explanation? Hearing Yuan-kun relenting, the Bloodkill Prince heaved a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Yuan-kun would not let go. As long as he relented, there was still room for discussion. Since this person has infuriated Vice Commander Yuan, our royal family is willing to offer 500 million 9 cauldron pills as compensation. What do you think? Prince of Bloodkill Prince said calmly. As long as he could resolve today's crisis, he did not mind giving away some pills. As long as he could make Yuan-kun take a step back, it was all worth it. Do I lack 500 million 9 cauldron pills? What a joke. You want to take a step back today? Sure, if you ask this kid to hand over all his fortuitous encounters, I will let him go. Yuan-kun sneered with greed on his face. He did not hide his greed at all. What he coveted most about Chu Fengmian was his fortuitous encounters. No matter what, he had to get Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters today. What? You want him to hand over all his fortuitous encounters? Impossible. Yuan-kun, don't go too far. Prince of Bloodkill Prince roared angrily. Yuan-kun's request was too much. You want Chu Fengmian to hand over all his fortuitous encounters? Chu Fengmian was powerful because of his fortuitous encounters. If he lost his fortuitous encounters, he would be crippled. Asking Chu Fengmian to offer up his own fortuitous encounter was no different from killing Chu Fengmian. This was not a step back at all. You don't agree? Fine. Then I will take action myself today. I will suppress this kid and extract all his fortuitous encounters. Yuan-kun said with a ferocious face. Let's see if you, Prince of Bloodkill Prince, can protect this kid from me. Yuan-kun, if you want to fight, I will accompany you to the end. Prince of Bloodkill Prince heard Yuan-kun's words and revealed his battle intent. Hold on, Chu Fengmian suddenly said. What? Kid, are you afraid? Are you willing to hand over all your fortuitous encounters? Yuan-kun sneered when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. Not bad. Looks like you're a smart kid. You know when to advance and when to retreat. Hand over all your fortuitous encounters today. That's your only chance to survive. Kid, get out of the way. I will fight with him. You should take this opportunity to escape. Prince of Bloodkill Prince thought Chu Fengmian was afraid when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. He could delay Yuan Kun with all his might and give Chu Fengmian a chance to escape. Escape? Who said that I have to escape today? Chu Fengmian smiled when he heard Prince of Blood kill Prince's words. I just can't be bothered to listen to this old man's nonsense. Chu Fengmian stepped forward and pointed at Yuan Kun. Old man, do you dare to fight with me? Life or death? Don't you want to obtain my fortuitous encounters? As long as you kill me, all my fortuitous encounters will be yours. Chu Fengmian's words stunned everyone present, including Yuan Kun. Chu Fengmian actually wanted to fight with him? In his opinion, Chu Fengmian was simply an ant. Now that he wanted to challenge a real dragon, he was simply courting death. Since you want to court death, then I will let you go. Then I will fulfill your wish. Without any hesitation, Yuan Kun stepped forward. Suddenly, spiritual energy burst out from his body. Prince of Blood kill Prince, you still want to protect this kid? This kid is courting death. You can't protect him anymore. Yuan Kun laughed when he saw Prince of Blood kill standing beside Chu Fengmian. Kid, you. Prince of Blood kill Prince looked at Chu Fengmian and sighed. He didn't know what to say. Chu Fengmian actually challenged Yuan Kun. This made him have no reason to protect Chu Fengmian. Chapter 314. Prince of Blood kill, get out of my way. It's easy for me to defeat this old man. Chu Fengmian looked at Prince of Blood kill and laughed. His words were full of confidence. Junior, this man is an expert at the 5th level of the divine power realm. Even if you have many fortuitous encounters, you can't compete with him. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Prince of Blood kill frowned and said, in his opinion, if Chu Fengmian fought with Yuan Kun, he would be courting death. Yuan Kun could easily kill Chu Fengmian. Such a big gap in cultivation level couldn't be made up by fortuitous encounters. Really? In less than 3 breaths, I can cripple one of his arms. Chu Fengmian strode forward, looking at Yuan Kun, and said coldly, Old man, you dare to take Zhao Pidi away. Today, I will cripple one of your arms. Let's see if you dare to meddle in other people's business in the future. Crazy, this kid is completely crazy. Does he think he can compete with Yuan Kun? No, he even wants to cripple one of Yuan Kun's arms? Hearing Chu Fengmian's arrogant words, the experts hiding in the surrounding space all thought that Chu Fengmian was crazy. Yuan Kun of the Shatter Legion is being looked down upon by a junior. He must be furious. This kid doesn't know what's good for him. Prince of Blood kill is ready to protect him, but he still dares to provoke Yuan Kun. He's too arrogant, and it's not a good thing. It seems that this kid will fall today. Streams of divine consciousness conversed with each other in the space, and the result was the same. Chu Fengmian was indeed too arrogant. He actually wanted to compete with Yuan Kun. Countless people had already predicted that Chu Fengmian would die. Good, what an arrogant kid. This is the first time I've seen such an arrogant kid in the Qin Empire for hundreds of years. Yuan Kun's eyes flickered with ominous light. His face was furious, and his body was filled with anger. He was the deputy commander of the Shatter Legion, one of the 3 great legions of the Qin Empire. He was a famous saint expert, and even Prince of Blood kill had to bow down to him. Today, Chu Fengmian kept calling him an old bastard, which made him furious. Now, he actually came to provoke him. This simply made him mad. He wanted nothing more than to kill Chu Fengmian and let him taste all the pain in the world. Only then would he be able to quell the anger in his heart. Brat, I want to see just how much weight you have to dare to provoke this old man. Yuan Kun moved. His feet moved, and his figure suddenly rushed toward Chu Fengmian. In the hollow of his palm, 5 balls of 5 elements spiritual power condensed again. The 5 elements reversal yin-yang reversal formation burst out again. The 5 layers of 5 elements spiritual force turned into a huge formation. Following Yuan Kun's palm, it rushed toward Chu Fengmian and suppressed him. Looks like this Yuan Kun is really angry. He used this move right from the start. I'm afraid this kid won't be able to take even one move. It's a pity that a peerless genius is going to die in the hands of Yuan Kun today. Countless warriors present could not help but shake their heads, expressing their regret. With this move, Chu Fengmian would be suppressed. It was simply a matter of certainty. How could a warrior of the wind-controlling realm resist the 5 elements reversal formation? But in the next moment, the scene that appeared in front of them was beyond everyone's imagination. The sword in Chu Fengmian's hand flashed. Endless killing intent burst out and condensed on the sword. Suddenly, the sword chi flashed. This wisp of sword chi was over 3 kilometers long. It streaked across the sky majestically and forcefully slashed into the 5 elements yin-yang reversal great array. Hiss! Endless blood-red light flashed, and the 5 elements yin-yang reversal great array was forcibly torn open by the sword aura. Under this sword chi, the 5 elements yin-yang reversal array was actually broken. A secret technique that could suppress a saint was actually unable to suppress Chu Fengmian, but now it was broken by Chu Fengmian's sword. No one could comprehend or believe what they were witnessing. Old man, do you think I'm at your mercy just because I'm a warrior of the wind-controlling realm? Let me tell you, I won't kill any saint who died in my hands. I don't mind having one more dead soul under my sword. Chu Fengmian slashed out with his sword and shouted angrily. His figure rushed towards Yuan Kun in a hurry. His speed was unbelievably fast. Chu Fengmian pushed the phantom body technique to the limit. Suddenly, dozens of identical Chu Fengmian appeared in front of him. What kind of swordsmanship is this? What mysterious body technique? I can't even see it clearly. This is a junior of the wind-controlling realm. How can he have such tyrannical power? Yuan Kun roared when he saw countless identical Chu Fengmians charging at him after his first attack failed. His palms changed unpredictably, turning into a sky full of palm prints. There were at least 1,000 of them, which slammed toward the countless Chu Fengmians in a frenzy. In the blink of an eye, countless Chu Fengmians' phantoms were destroyed. However, only one of them passed through the gaps between the countless palm prints and arrived in front of Yuan Kun. The speed of the figure was frighteningly fast. By the time Yuan Kun saw it clearly, Chu Fengmian was already in front of him. Break! Chu Fengmian's sword fell without hesitation, slashing at Yuan Kun's right arm. Whoosh! The sword light roared. Everyone looked over and saw an arm fly into the air. It was Yuan Kun's right arm. Yuan Kun's right arm was cut off by Chu Fengmian's sword. Yuan Kun's severed arm was snatched away by Chu Fengmian. With a thought, Chu Fengmian devoured the saint blood essence in it. Yuan Kun's saint blood essence was much purer than the Hellstabber Duke's saint blood essence Chu Fengmian had bought. Chu Fengmian could already sense that Yuan Kun's sword of slaughter had become much purer. Yuan Kun's arm was actually cut off by this person. This brat isn't being arrogant. He really does have the strength to back it up. The onlookers were all going crazy. They originally thought that Chu Fengmian would definitely lose in this battle, or even die without a doubt. However, no one expected that Yuan Kun's right arm would really be cut off, as Chu Fengmian said. In 3 breaths, Yuan Kun's arm had been cut off. With such strength, who could be a match for Chu Fengmian? The Bloodkill Prince was dumbfounded. He was scared stiff. Only a saint above the 7th level of the Divine Power Realm could cut off Yuan Kun's arm. Chapter 315. Yuan Kun's arm had been cut off by a wind-controlling realm cultivator. If this were to spread, no one would believe it. Unless it was someone who had witnessed all of this with their own eyes, all the martial artists would never dream that the strength of a wind-resisting realm martial artist could be so powerful. Chu Fengmian's final attack hadn't been fully unleashed. It had only cut off one of Yuan Kun's arms. If Chu Fengmian's sword had pierced through Yuan Kun's chest, Yuan Kun, the vice commander of the Destruction Legion and an expert at the 5th level of the Divine Power Realm, would have died at Chu Fengmian's hands. Today, I've cut off one of your arms to teach you a lesson. Don't meddle in things you shouldn't meddle in. Chu Fengmian glanced at Yuan Kun and said coldly. Yuan Kun had wanted to save Xiaopadi. Today, Chu Fengmian had cut off one of his arms to teach him a lesson. Although the severed arm could be restored, the saint's blood essence couldn't. Yuan Kun's cultivation had already begun to drop from the 5th level of the Divine Force realm to the peak of the 4th level. The saint's blood essence was the source of a saint's power. Now that his arm had been cut off, It was enough to make Yuan Kun's 100 years of cultivation come to an end. This old man has dominated the Qin Empire for hundreds of years. Today, I admit defeat for the first time. Yuan Kun looked at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. He already understood that Chu Fengmian wasn't an ordinary person. He wasn't someone he could bully as he pleased. If they were to continue fighting, it would only end in a situation where both sides suffered heavy losses. However, young man, this old man advises you to let Zhao Peti go. Family Zhao isn't someone you can provoke. Yuan Kun looked at Chu Fengmian and said calmly, Can't provoke? In this small Qin empire, there isn't anyone I can't provoke. Chu Fengmian sneered and looked at Yuan Kun. Today, this Chu will let you off. You can go back and tell Zhao Wudi that if family Zhao still wants to send people to die, they can come. Yuan Kun was sent by family Zhao. Chu Fengmian naturally saw it clearly. Otherwise, a saint wouldn't have saved Zhao Peti for no reason. Even after being defeated by Chu Fengmian, he still wanted to persuade Chu Fengmian. Brat, Yuan Kun still wanted to say something, but Chu Fengmian's eyes turned even colder. Get lost. If you don't scram, you'll die. Chu Fengmian looked at Yuan Kun with killing intent surging in his eyes. He had given Yuan Kun his first chance, so he wouldn't give him a second chance. Go! A trace of anger flashed in Yuan Kun's eyes, but he could only turn around and leave. Chu Fengmian's personality was incomparably arrogant. He had always kept his word. Today, Chu Fengmian dared to say that he could kill Yuan Kun, but if he didn't leave, he would kill him. If Yuan Kun didn't leave, Chu Fengmian would definitely kill him without hesitation. Yuan Kun was scared. With his arm cut off, he didn't dare to fight against Chu Fengmian anymore. He could only run away with his tail between his legs. Zhao Peti, it seems that no one can save you. Chu Fengmian walked toward Zhao Peti. The sword in his hand was still stained with Yuan Kun's blood. Seeing Chu Fengmian walking towards him step by step, Zhao Peti seemed to have sensed that he was about to die. His expression turned extremely crazy. You can't kill me. Brat, if you dare to kill me, I'll take you down with me. Either the fish dies or the net splits. The spiritual energy in Zhao Peti's body became extremely chaotic. All of his hidden strength was revealed at this moment. With such chaotic spiritual energy, Zhao Peti was actually preparing to self-detonate. Self-detonation. Seeing Zhao Peti's action, Prince Bloodkill's expression changed greatly. He hastily returned to Princess Tianin's side. Quickly leave. Zhao Peti is planning to self-detonate. The power of a saint's self-detonation was no small matter. Saint Chu Hong was once forced to self-detonate and nearly killed Chu Fengmian. Even if Zhao Peti was a lamp that had run out of oil, the power of his self-detonation was comparable to a saint at the 4th or 5th level of the divine force realm. Once he self-detonated, more than half of the people present would die. Even Chu Fengmian would be seriously injured. Life and death struggle? Do you think you're qualified? Hearing Zhao Peti's threat, Chu Fengmian's expression didn't change. Self-detonation? Wanting to take Chu Fengmian down with him? This Zhao Peti wasn't qualified. Die for me. Chu Fengmian's sword flashed and immediately cut open a bloody wound on Zhao Peti's chest. Arg! Zhao Peti screamed again and again. His face revealed a final look of madness. He never thought that there would be a day where he would die. But even if he died, he still wanted to take Chu Fengmian down with him. Zhao Peti's body trembled. The spiritual energy in his body had already condensed to the extreme and could explode at any time. Brat, die. I'll take you down with me. Heavenly demon disintegration. Endless demonic energy. Explode. Destroy everything. On Zhao Peti's body, a frenzied spiritual energy suddenly burst out. His entire body swelled to the extreme. For a moment, all the spectating experts were in a hurry to escape. When a saint self-detonated, they would also be seriously injured if they were caught in it and had to flee. Want to self-detonate? Take me down with you? Do you think you have the qualifications to self-detonate in front of this Chu? Heavenly death seal. Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed. With a move of his mind, a black light suddenly entered Zhao Peti's body. This was the heavenly death seal. As the black light entered Zhao Peti's body, his swollen body began to slowly calm down. How is this possible? How is this possible? Feeling the spiritual energy in his body beginning to calm down, Zhao Peti roared crazily. He didn't understand why he didn't even have the ability to self-detonate in front of Chu Fengyan. Under the heavenly death seal, all the spiritual energy in Zhao Peti's body was under Chu Fengyan's control. It could be said that even if he wanted to self-detonate, it was impossible. Spare me. Spare me. I'm willing to be your slave. I'm willing to submit to you. Self-detonation was originally Zhao Peti's final frantic struggle. But now, in front of Chu Fengyan, he couldn't even self-detonate. This broke Zhao Peti's final will. He directly abandoned his dignity and frantically kowtowed, begging for mercy. You want to submit now? It's too late. Chu Fengyan coldly snorted. How could there be such a good opportunity to survive in the face of death? Chu Fengyan wouldn't show mercy. With a move of Chu Fengyan's mind, Zhao Peti's body suddenly exploded in the air, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Zhao Peti had fallen. Not even his body was left behind. It turned into a cloud of blood mist and was completely devoured by Chu Fengyan. A saint, family Zhao's little invincible Zhao Peti, actually fell in the hands of Chu Fengyan today. Fifth update today. Chapter 316. Zhao Peti has fallen. Seems like family Zhao won't let this kid go. Today, family Zhao has fallen. The experts of family Zhao are all in Jiushi country, fighting for the ancient ruins. Only Zhao Peti is left. But I guess family Zhao didn't expect that Zhao Peti would be killed. Countless spiritual consciousnesses were conversing with each other in a secret space. They seemed to be discussing the current situation of the Qin Empire. The Qin Empire had always been filled with undercurrents. Today, Chu Fengyan had killed Zhao Peti, breaking the balance even more. But even if the balance was broken, Chu Fengyan's heart didn't waver. For Chu Fengyan, he would take one step at a time. The more chaotic Qin Empire was, the more beneficial it would be for Chu Fengyan. After all, Chu Fengyan was still an outsider to Qin Empire. The more chaotic it was, the more benefits Chu Fengyan could obtain. At least, after killing Zhao Peti today, he had obtained countless benefits. 100 drops of demon blood were all devoured by Chu Fengyan. Zhao Xiong and Zhao Chun, as well as the 240 million 9 cauldron pills in Jin Tianhua's spatial ring, were also a huge fortune. Indeed, only in troubled times can experts be born. They can directly seize the wealth of others and their opportunities. Chu Fengyan thought. His strength had improved by leaps and bounds after coming to Qin Empire. He was right to come to Qin Empire. However, Chu Fengyan wasn't someone who would kill the innocent. This family Zhao and Jin Tianhua both deserved to die. They deserved to die for going against Chu Fengyan. Young Master Chu, no, Senior Chu, please spare our lives. Zhao Xiong and Zhao Chun knelt on the ground and kowtowed crazily. Zhao Peti had died in Chu Fengyan's hands, causing them to lose all hope. Each of them hurriedly kowtowed and begged for mercy. Now you want to beg for mercy? Chu Fengyan sneered. These two finally knew how to beg for mercy. Unfortunately, it was too late. Chu Fengyan had given them a chance, but since they didn't know how to cherish it, there wouldn't be a second chance. Die. Chu Fengyan stood where he was and did not move at all. With a thought, the bodies of the two exploded like Zhao Peti under a wave of pressure. Chu Fengyan wouldn't allow himself to get into trouble just because of a moment of soft-heartedness. Chu Fengyan had also devoured all of the blood essence in their bodies. Chu Fengyan raised his head and scanned the crowd. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear. Chu Fengyan was truly a ferocious person. Now, everyone was extremely fearful of Chu Fengyan. Chu Fengyan was not only powerful, but also crazy. Chu Fengyan didn't even put family Zhao in his eyes. Family Zhao's disciples and even family Zhao's saints were all killed by Chu Fengyan. They didn't dare to provoke Chu Fengyan. Who knew if they would be the next to die? Fortunately, with Chu Fengyan's character, he clearly distinguished between gratitude and grudges. As long as they didn't provoke Chu Fengyan, he wouldn't kill the innocent. Prince of Bloodkill, why are you looking for me? Chu Fengyan turned his head and looked at Prince of Bloodkill. Previously, Prince of Bloodkill wanted to help Chu Fengmian resist Yuan Kun. Obviously, he had something to ask Chu Fengmian. Otherwise, Chu Fengmian wouldn't believe that Prince of Bloodkill would help him for no reason. Hearing Chu Fengmian's question, Prince of Bloodkill slowly woke up from his daze. Since Chu Fengmian defeated Yuan Kun and killed Zhao Pidi, Prince of Bloodkill was a little sluggish. He really couldn't understand why Chu Fengmian had such terrifying strength. So much so that he was stunned for a moment when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. He helped Chu Fengmian because he wanted to do Chu Fengmian a favor and win him over. He wanted Chu Fengmian to cooperate with the imperial family to deal with family Zhao. But now, he didn't help at all. Chu Fengmian alone cut off Yuan Kun's arm and forced him to leave. He even killed Zhao Pidi. What was the point of him trying to win Chu Fengmian over? Young Master Chu, can you follow me to my residence? My daughter has something to discuss with you. Before the Prince of Bloodkill could open his mouth to speak, a woman's figure suddenly appeared. She took a step forward towards Chu Fengmian and suddenly spoke. The lady was wearing a white palace dress. Her temperament was ethereal and elegant. Although she looked ordinary, she was incomparably deep. She was the one that Chu Fengmian couldn't see through previously. She was the one in the auction house's private room, Princess Tianyin. It's Princess Tianyin. Princess Tianyin actually appeared. She wants to win this kid over? This kid offended family Zhao. He's family Zhao's mortal enemy. Princess Tianyin should be trying to win him over to deal with the imperial family. Seeing Princess Tianyin's appearance, many people were surprised. Her appearance was even more shocking than Prince of Bloodkill's appearance. Princess Tianyin was the representative of the imperial family in Qin Empire. The power behind her couldn't be underestimated. In the imperial family of Qin Empire, there were few males. Only Princess Tianyin was outstanding. She had vaguely become the representative of the imperial family of Qin Empire. A character like Princess Tianyin rarely appeared in front of others. Now that she suddenly appeared and spoke, everyone understood that she planned to rope in Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian and family Zhao were mortal enemies. The enemy of an enemy was a friend. Princess Tianyin's choice to win Chu Fengmian over was within everyone's expectations. This is the most mysterious Princess Tianyin in Qin Empire? Chu Fengmian looked at Princess Tianyin. At such a close distance, Chu Fengmian couldn't see Princess Tianyin's face clearly. On Princess Tianyin's face, there seemed to be a strange law that distorted the space, making it impossible for others to see her face clearly. Chu Fengmian quietly circulated his spiritual energy, trying to see through Princess Tianyin's face. However, the spiritual energy disappeared the moment it got close to Princess Tianyin. It was like a stone sinking into the sea. What a strange lady. The aura on her body is both strange and familiar. I must have seen her before. Who is she? Chu Fengmian looked at Princess Tianyin. His mind was filled with confusion. However, no matter how confused he was, Chu Fengmian didn't show it on his face. Hearing Princess Tianyin's question, he quickly answered. All right. Chu Fengmian wasn't enough to deal with family Zhao alone. He originally wanted to borrow the power of the imperial family of Qin Empire. Now that Princess Tianyin came to him, Chu Fengmian wouldn't reject her. Let's go. Princess Tianyin and Prince of Bloodkill nodded. Their figures flashed and disappeared instantly. Chu Fengmian also flashed and disappeared together. Chapter 317. Chu Fengmian followed Princess Tianyin and Prince Bloodkill. Soon, they arrived at a majestic courtyard in Nine Cauldron Ancient City. The courtyard was Princess Tianyin's mansion in Nine Cauldron Ancient City. The entire courtyard was surrounded by countless guards. The weakest of these guards was at the Divine Sea Realm. Some of the stronger guards were even at the Wind-resisting realm. These soldiers should be from one of the three armies of the Qin Empire. They belonged to the Royal Qin Empire. Chu Fengmian looked at the soldiers and mumbled to himself. These soldiers were all full of spirit energy and had been through hundreds of battles. At first glance, one could tell that they were veterans of the battlefield. Most of them had learned a secret technique. They could be attacked by dozens or hundreds of people. The combined attack of dozens or hundreds of wind-resisting realm warriors was enough to force a saint to retreat. The quality of the soldiers of the Qin Empire is much better than that of the Wushang country. Once the war starts, the Wushang country will be destroyed in an instant. Chu Fengmian mumbled to himself. The Qin Empire was indeed the number one among the 6 countries. The soldiers of the Royal Qin Empire were so powerful. Chu Fengmian was not worried about the Wushang country. However, he was worried about the safety of the Cold Snow Pavilion. If there was an endless stream of Divine Sea Realm and wind-resisting realm soldiers, the Cold Snow Pavilion would not be able to withstand it. Moreover, the Qin Empire did not lack experts. It seems that I made the right choice to come to the Qin Empire. I did not expect the Qin Empire to be so powerful. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. Fortunately, the Qin Empire was divided internally. Otherwise, Chu Fengmian would have to escape with the Hanyuel Li and the ancient dragon turtle under the full attack of the Qin Empire. The princess has returned. The princess has returned. Some of the soldiers saw Princess Tianyin from afar. They knelt at the door and welcomed her. Princess Tianyin nodded and strode into the courtyard. She came to a palace and waved her hand. Countless seals covered the entire palace and sealed it. All of a sudden, a series of restrictions sealed Chu Fengmian's body. These restrictions had been set up in the palace long ago. As Chu Fengmian walked into the palace, the seals were activated and sealed Chu Fengmian. As long as the seals were activated, Chu Fengmian would be completely suppressed. Looking at the changes around him, Chu Fengmian just smiled. His face was still calm, without the slightest change. He was not afraid at all. It was as if the layers of restrictions had nothing to do with him. Princess Tianyin looked at Chu Fengmian and smiled. I've meticulously set up these restrictions for a very long time. I never expected that you would actually dare to directly walk into this palace. Demon Sealing Seal, Heaven's Net Curse, Immortal Trapping Technique, 10,000 B Seal. I'm afraid it took at least several years to set up so many seals. Chu Fengmian looked at the seals on his body and counted them one by one. These seals were all of extremely high grade. To a saint, ordinary restrictions were meaningless. Princess Tianyin had indeed spent a lot of effort to set up so many restrictions. Hearing Chu Fengmian point out what those restrictions were, Princess Tianyin was slightly surprised. She then smiled and said, "Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Scared? Why should I be afraid?" Chu Fengmian looked at the entire palace and said calmly, "At least I don't think that Princess Tianyin is a foolish person. Killing me now won't bring any benefits to the Qin Empire's royal family. Is that so? Unfortunately, I don't think so." Princess Tianyin still smiled and said, "You've killed Zhao Peti now. Your family Zhao's mortal enemy and a thorn in family Zhao's side. If I kill you and hand you over to family Zhao, I can obtain countless benefits from family Zhao. I might even use this opportunity to make peace with family Zhao. Tell me, why won't I kill you? Make peace? Even a 3-year-old child wouldn't believe such words. If I make peace with family Zhao now, I'm just waiting for the Qin Empire to fall into the hands of family Zhao." Chu Fengmian laughed when he heard Princess Tianyin's words. And there's another point. I've never placed these restrictions in my eyes. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Suddenly, a dragon roar burst out from Chu Fengmian's mouth. Roar. Under the dragon roar, the layers of restrictions on Chu Fengmian's body were all shattered. The countless restrictions that were painstakingly laid down were all broken by Chu Fengmian with a single move. "Princess, be careful." Seeing Chu Fengmian break free from the restrictions, Prince of Bloodkill's face changed drastically. The restrictions were laid down by countless saints of the royal family, enough to trap a saint. But now it was broken so easily in front of Chu Fengmian. Without these restrictions, with Chu Fengmian's strength, it was possible for him and Princess Tianyin to be killed today. "Prince of Bloodkill, don't worry." Princess Tianyin waved her hand and dismissed Prince of Bloodkill, as if Chu Fengmian's actions didn't surprise her. Chu Fengmian had too many legends on him. The restrictions couldn't do anything to Chu Fengmian, which was within her expectations. "You're worthy of being the new #1 expert of the victorious martial nation. These little restrictions are useless against you. Oh, you actually recognized me? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered, and he was a little surprised. He came to the Qin Empire and changed his identity. He didn't expect Princess Tianyin to see through him. Sure enough, you're Chu Fengmian. Hearing Chu Fengmian's reply, Princess Tianyin was sure that Chu Fengmian was the one who set off countless storms in the victorious martial nation. Many people should have guessed your identity. After all, such a terrifying genius couldn't have jumped out from a crack in a rock. Among the 6 nations, only Chu Fengmian of the victorious martial nation is similar to you. After all, with the strength of the wind controlling realm, you can kill a saint. Such talent is too monstrous. There shouldn't be a second one in the 6 nations. But they shouldn't dare to confirm it. I can confirm it because of one thing. The veil on Princess Tianyi's face suddenly disappeared, revealing her original appearance. Because I should have had some fate with you in the past. Under Princess Tianyi's veil, there was a face that Chu Fengmian was familiar with. Chu Wuyin? Chu Fengmian looked at Princess Tianyi's face and blurted out. This face belonged to Chu Wuyin, one of the 4 great geniuses in the same batch as Chu Fengmian in the victorious Martial Academy. 7th update. Chapter 3:18. No, you're not Chu Wuyin. Chu Fengmian looked at Princess Tianyin and said. Although Princess Tianyin looked exactly the same as Chu Wuyin, her temperament and personality were completely different from Chu Wuyin's. Chu Wuyin's personality was one that didn't strive for anything and was extremely calm. However, Chu Fengmian could feel that Princess Tianyin had the temperament of a superior person. To be able to represent the royal family and compete with family Zhao, Princess Tianyin couldn't be an ordinary person. Chu Wuyin can be considered as me, but I'm not Chu Wuyin, Princess Tianyin said. Her words were extremely mysterious. Chu Wuyin was once an incarnation of mine. However, I still have the memory of meeting you, so I can recognize you. Incarnation. Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with surprise. You have the mysterious transformation divine body. Hearing Princess Tianyin talking about incarnations, Chu Fengmian suddenly thought of something that he had seen in the ancient books in his previous life. In the 9 regions, other than the talented geniuses, there was another type of demonic talent that surpassed the talented geniuses, which was the inborn divine body. There were hundreds of types of divine bodies. For example, Han Yueli had the mysterious cold body, which was one of the more common types of divine bodies. When cultivating ice-based martial arts, it was 10 times or dozens of times better than ordinary martial artists. Although it was one of the more common types, in the entire Wushang country, only Han Yueli had the divine body. Princess Tianyin had one of the most unique and rare types of divine bodies, the mysterious transformation divine body. Martial artists who had the mysterious transformation divine body could create incarnations to aid in their cultivation. Each incarnation had its own personality and consciousness. It was equivalent to countless people cultivating together and accumulating experience, resulting in twice the result with half the effort. Chu Wuyin from Wusheng Academy was one of the incarnations of Princess Tianyin. It was no wonder that Chu Wuyin had disappeared. Princess Tianyin must have taken back her incarnation. She wanted to break through to the divine power realm. So naturally, she had to concentrate all her power on one point and prepare to step into the divine power realm and become a saint. You know about the mysterious transformation divine body. Princess Tianyin's eyes flickered, and she was extremely surprised. She only found out about the profound transformation divine body later on. In the beginning, Princess Tianyin only knew that her body was extremely special. She only found out about it after reading the ancient books. Among all the people she had met so far, Chu Fengmian was the only one who recognized her constitution at first sight. Who are you? You're from the victorious martial nation, and you're so experienced. You shouldn't be from the 6 nations. You must be from an even higher nation. Princess Tianyin looked at Chu Fengmian and said. She had investigated Chu Fengmian's identity countless times. Chu Fengmian's rise was too sudden, so sudden that she couldn't believe it. In just a year, a martial artist had gone from trash who could not cultivate to having the strength of a saint. Chu Fengmian's sudden rise surpassed any genius from the Six Nations. Coupled with Chu Fengmian's strange cultivation technique and experience, it was very likely that Chu Fengmian didn't come from the Six Nations. Such geniuses could only be found in the most powerful countries in the northern region. Since Princess Tian has already investigated my identity, is there still a need to ask me? Chu Fengmian said calmly. He didn't answer Princess Tian's question. If his previous life was included, Chu Fengmian did indeed come from a higher nation. However, that was in his previous life. The current Chu Fengmian was Chu Fengmian. The previous Chu Jianbai had already fallen. I know you want to know my identity, but it's better if you don't know my identity too clearly. It won't do you any good. It might only bring you a fatal disaster. Chu Fengmian looked at Princess Tianyin and said coldly, if the people from the 7 major sects knew that Chu Fengmian was still alive, countless experts would probably search the entire 9 regions for Chu Fengmian. To Princess Tianyin, it was indeed best if she didn't know. Moreover, you don't have any reason to deal with me now. My identity isn't important. What's important is that I can help the royal family deal with Family Zhao. Chu Fengmian said calmly. Family Zhao has been eyeing the Qin Empire covetously. He has always wanted to replace the royal family and become the new ruler of the Qin Empire. If you want to revive the royal family and destroy Family Zhao, you can only rely on my strength. Other than me, no one else can help you do this. Chu Fengmian said arrogantly. The Prince of Blood Kill couldn't help but frown. His words seemed to be saying that without Chu Fengmian, the royal family would be destroyed. The royal family of the Qin Empire was able to contend with Family Zhao for such a long time. Of course, it wasn't because of their reputation, but because of their true strength. Even if the Zhao family was powerful now, it was not as if the royal family did not have the power to contend against them. The Prince of Blood Kill couldn't help but say coldly, Young Master Chu, aren't you a little too arrogant? Without your help, would the royal family of the Qin Empire be destroyed? That's right. Without my help, the royal family would be destroyed sooner or later. Chu Fengmian said in a deep voice. He wasn't courteous at all. So now, you can only work with me. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Princess Tianyin felt helpless. Indeed, if the royal family really had the ability to contend with Family Zhao, they wouldn't be in such a situation now. The royal family could still contend with Family Zhao because of their righteousness. However, in terms of strength, they were no longer on the same level. Right now, many of the forces within the Qin Empire had already sided with the Zhao family. If this went on, it was only a matter of time before the royal family of the Qin Empire was overthrown. We can work together, but I want to know why you want to work with the royal family. Young Master Chu isn't from the Qin Empire. No matter if the royal family or Family Zhao wins, it shouldn't affect young Master Chu. Could it be that young Master Chu wants to be the master of the Qin Empire? Princess Tianyi's words were shocking. Indeed, Chu Fengmian wasn't from the Qin Empire. Why would he want to get involved in this mess? In a conflict between the royal family and Family Zhao, even a saint would be crushed if he got involved. There must be a reason why Chu Fengmian took such a huge risk. Master of the royal family? Even if you give me the entire 6 countries, I won't accept it, let alone a small Qin empire. Chu Fengmian laughed loudly when he heard Princess Tianyi's words. I'm going against Family Zhao because Family Zhao offended me. That's all. As for the rest, I'm only interested in Family Zhao's resources and wealth. There were a total of 8 chapters today, and they were all here. Xiaoyu didn't save any chapters, so he couldn't release too many chapters in one go. He could only release them every day and continue to release them tomorrow. Chapter 319. How do you want to cooperate? Princess Tianyin thought for a while and nodded. She believed Chu Fengmian's words. With Chu Fengmian's character, he wouldn't bother to lie. With his arrogance, if he really wanted to deal with the royal family of the Qin Empire, he wouldn't hide anything. In the end, what Chu Fengmian needed was wealth to increase his strength. As for other things, Chu Fengmian didn't care. This was a good outcome for Princess Tianyin. The royal family didn't lack wealth. What they really wanted was to defeat Family Zhao and stabilize their position. It's simple. I'll help the royal family defeat family Zhao. However, I want 50% of all the wealth obtained from defeating family Zhao. Chu Fengyan said indifferently. Young Master Chu, aren't you being too arrogant? 50% of all the wealth? Do you know how much 50% of family Zhao's wealth is? Prince of Bloodkill snorted and said coldly. Family Zhao could be said to be the largest family in the Qin Empire. Although they weren't as wealthy as the Jin family, they had at least tens of billions or even hundreds of millions of Nine Cauldron pills. Chu Fengyan wanted to take more than half of the wealth in one go. It was like taking a big piece of fat meat. Okay, I can promise you this. Princess Tian said without much hesitation. If they could defeat family Zhao, it wouldn't matter even if she had to give half of family Zhao's wealth to Chu Fengyan. However, it won't be easy to defeat family Zhao. Do you have a plan? Princess Tian asked. Family Zhao had been operating in the Qin Empire for thousands of years. They were extremely powerful. Not only family Zhao, but countless forces in the Qin Empire had connections with family Zhao. Naturally, it was extremely difficult to uproot such a colossus. Of course, defeating family Zhao isn't something that can be done overnight. However, now is the best time. Chu Fengyan spoke with assurance. Zhao Wudi is currently unable to fight due to the great tribulation of life and death. He can only cultivate like crazy. Countless experts of family Zhao are also searching for treasures in the ancient ruins of the Kingdom of Nine Streams in order to help Zhao Wudi find resources to transcend the tribulation. Right now, family Zhao can be said to be a dragon without a dragon, with no one of his own. Therefore, it is best to take advantage of this opportunity to subdue all the forces that are allied with family Zhao. When Zhao Wudi returns, we can think of a way to contend against him alone. Chu Fengyan said. He had already formulated a plan in his mind. I need an identity. Otherwise, I have no reason to fight within the Qin Empire. That's easy. Our Qin Shi Huang army is currently lacking a senior commander. We can give you that position and let you command the Qin Shi Huang army. Princess Tian nodded after hearing Chu Fengyan's words. It was indeed the most empty moment for family Zhao. Family Zhao's experts were all in the Kingdom of Nine Streams and could not rush back for a while. Now is the best time to deal with family Zhao. However, the position of the senior commander is not easy. You have to understand. Princess Tian's words had a hidden meaning. The position of the senior commander was indeed empty. However, it was another matter whether Chu Fengyan could become the senior commander or not. After all, the royal family did not lack experts who had been coveting the position of the senior commander for a long time. If Chu Fengyan wanted to become the senior commander of the Qin Shi Huang army, he had to pass through them. It's all right. I have my ways to subdue those people. Chu Fengyan said casually. He naturally knew that this was Princess Tian's test, or rather, a test. She wanted to test Chu Fengyan's true strength. If Chu Fengyan could not even become the senior commander of the Qin Shi Huang army, then Chu Fengyan was naturally not qualified to cooperate with her. However, such a small test would not be taken seriously by Chu Fengyan. His tone was extremely relaxed. All right, Princess Tian glanced at Prince of Bloodkill and said, Prince of Bloodkill, you will lead young Master Chu to the camp. Yes. Prince of Bloodkill nodded and said to Chu Fengyan, Let's go. Two figures left the palace and leaped into the space. Prince of Bloodkill was a saint expert. Naturally, he could control the power of space and travel through space. However, Chu Fengyan, who was only at the wind-controlling realm, could travel through space together with him. This also meant that Chu Fengyan could not only contend against a saint expert with his strength. In many aspects, he was no different from a real saint expert. Young Master Chu, the Qin Shi Huang army is not as simple as you think. Many experts in the Qin Shi Huang army want to become the senior commander, but none of them succeeded. You should be careful when you go there this time. Many experts have been eyeing the position of the senior commander for a long time. If you go there this time and get the position of the senior commander out of nowhere, I'm afraid that countless experts will be dissatisfied with you. You have to subdue them personally. Even if you have Princess Tian's verbal order, many experts in the Qin Shi Huang army might not be convinced. Prince of Bloodkill reminded Chu Fengyan as the two of them stepped into the space and left. After all, Chu Fengyan was someone that Princess Tian Yin had roped in. Chu Fengyan's strength was indeed powerful, but there was no lack of experts in the Qin Shi Huang army. This time, Chu Fengyan might not be able to become the senior commander. Seems like the Qin Shi Huang army is not completely under Princess Tian Yin's control. Although they are loyal to the imperial family, those experts are indeed extremely arrogant. They will not be easily manipulated by Princess Tian Yin. Chu Fengyan understood the meaning of Prince of Bloodkill's words. Even if Princess Tian Yin had agreed to let Chu Fengyan become the senior commander, he might not be able to subdue the experts in the Qin Shi Huang army. If Chu Fengyan wanted to subdue them and become the senior commander, he would have to do it himself. Oh, which experts in the Qin Shi Huang army want to fight for the senior commander's position? Chu Fengyan said calmly. Prince of Bloodkill knew Chu Fengyan's strength. Since he had reminded him, it was obvious that the experts in the Qin Shi Huang army did have the strength to contend with Chu Fengyan. Hearing Chu Fengyan's question, Prince of Bloodkill did not hide it. After all, Chu Fengyan was definitely going to take control of the Qin Shi Huang army. It would be beneficial for the imperial family too. In the Qin Emperor's army, there are a total of 3 deputy commanders, 12 guarding generals, and 4 strategists. These 19 people are all saints. Among them, the 3 deputy commanders all want to fight for the position of the Grand Commander. However, the strength of these 3 deputy commanders is on par with each other. They keep each other in check. None of them have taken the position of Grand Commander. Now that young Master Chu has taken the position of Grand Commander out of nowhere, I'm afraid that the 3 deputy commanders will all fight against you. Today's first update, Chapter 320. Oh, were the strengths of the 3 vice commanders, the 12 garrison generals, and the 4 strategists. Chu Fengyan was slightly surprised after hearing Prince Bloodkill's words. The Qin Shi Huang army, one of the 3 armies, had 19 saints. The number was much higher than the number of saints in the entire Wuxing country. No wonder the Qin Shi Huang country could be called the number 1 among the 6 countries. Their strength was much higher than the other 5 countries. Just a single army had such terrifying strength. The 3 vice commanders are all saints at the 6th level of the divine force realm. The strength of the 12 generals and the 4 strategists are all different. Most of them are at the 3rd level to the 5th level of the divine force realm. Prince Bloodkill said, "These people are very arrogant. They don't even listen to the royal family's orders. It's very difficult to subdue them." Prince Bloodkill had a headache about the Qin Shi Huang army. The Qin Shi Huang army strength was almost higher than the royal families. They ignored many royal families' orders. Although they still belonged to the royal family, they started to become independent. Princess Tianyin wanted Chu Fengyan to be the commander of the Qin Shi Huang army. She wanted to give the Qin Shi Huang army a warning. Really? If they don't want to surrender and go against me, I will defeat them one by one. Chu Fengyan said coldly. Really? Then, I'm looking forward to the moment when young Master Chu overpowers them. Prince Bloodkill smiled after hearing Chu Fengyan's words. He was used to Chu Fengyan's arrogance. The two of them chatted for a while. Suddenly, a distorted space appeared in front of them. Chu Fengyan followed Prince Bloodkill and stepped into the distorted space. Suddenly, a murderous aura burst out. Behind the distorted space were numerous military camps, all of which were set up behind the distorted space. The camp of the Qin Shi Huang army was located in the distorted space. Chu Fengyan glanced around. There were more than 1 million soldiers in the camp. There were many experts among them. Every one of them had a murderous look on their faces. He could hear loud shouts from time to time. Countless soldiers were training. The Qin Shi Huang army is really brave. I'm afraid they can flatten the Wuxing country with 1/3 of their strength. Chu Fengyan looked at the Qin Shi Huang army and couldn't help but praise. Compared to the army of the victorious martial nation, the Qin Shi Huang army was extremely powerful. However, it was said that the Qin Shi Huang army was not as strong as Family Zhao's invincible army. It seemed that family Zhao's strength was much stronger than they had imagined. Who dares to trespass into the barracks? As soon as the Bloodkill Prince and Chu Fengmian stepped into this space, several spiritual senses swept over them. They saw two armored warriors flying over. Both of them were martial artists at the peak of the wind-controlling realm. They were not ordinary soldiers, but commandants who commanded the drill. Bing Wu, Tu Gu, you two can't even recognize this king? Prince Bloodkill let out a cold harumph as he looked at the two newcomers. Obviously, he knew who they were. So it's Prince of Bloodkill. Prince of Bloodkill, why have you come to the military camp? When the two of them saw the Bloodkill Prince, they bowed slightly and asked. The Bloodkill Prince did not have much relationship with the Qin Shi Huang army. He usually followed Princess Tianyin. The two of them couldn't help but ask. Humph. This time, this prince has brought Princess Tianyin's decree. The two of you go and gather the 3 vice commanders, the 12 garrison generals, and the 4 strategists in the camp. This prince has something to say. The Bloodkill Prince said coldly. Yes. After hearing the decree of Princess Tianyin, the two of them looked solemn and left in a hurry. Let's go. Let's wait in the barracks. The Bloodkill Prince glanced at Chu Fengmian and brought him to the barracks in the center of the barracks. There were 20 thrones in the barracks. Apparently, they represented the 20 people with the highest status in the entire Qin Shi Huang army. When the two of them came to the barracks, the Bloodkill Prince gathered his spiritual power and sat down beside the highest throne. He was not a member of the Qin Shi Huang army. Naturally, there was no place for him in the barracks. Hence, the Bloodkill Prince found a place and sat down. Right now, there was only one empty seat among the 20. It was the highest golden throne in the barracks. It was the seat of the Qin Shi Huang army's chief commander. Now that there was no chief commander in the Qin Shi Huang army, the seat was empty. Chu Fengmian glanced around and sat down on the golden throne at the highest point without hesitation. Oh! Looking at Chu Fengmian sitting on the highest golden throne, the Bloodkill Prince revealed a playful smile. This seat was not easy to sit on. Not long after the two of them came to the barracks, countless figures came one by one and sat on different thrones. These people were all saints. They were extremely rare in the outside world. Now, in the barracks, there were a lot of them. These figures looked at Chu Fengmian, who was sitting on the golden throne. They could not help but frown and swept over Chu Fengmian with their spiritual consciousness. Chu Fengmian did not care. He did not hide his cultivation level. He showed that he was only at level 5 of the Imperial Wind Realm. However, none of these people opened their mouths. It was as if they were all waiting. 2 hours later, the 19 thrones below were all filled with people. The 3 deputy commanders, the 12 guarding generals, and the 4 strategists were all present. Prince of Bloodkill, why did you call all of us here for this meeting? Our Qin Shi Huang army is training day and night to prepare for the War of the 6 Nations. We are extremely busy. Time is precious. Below, a guarding general suddenly stood up and said, This man is Hong Yu, a saint at level 4 of the Divine Power Realm. He is the Northwest General. He guards the Northwest and holds great power. He usually ignores the royal family's orders. The Bloodkill Prince said quietly to Chu Fengmian, This man has some grudges with the royal family. He's been targeting the royal family. You must be careful. Chu Fengmian nodded and did not speak. Northwest General, don't worry. I have summoned all of you here for an important decree. The Bloodkill Prince said calmly. Before he finished, he was interrupted by the Northwest General, Hong Yu. Bloodkill Prince, the royal family's decree aside. Who is he? What right does he have to sit on the golden throne? The Northwest General, Hong Yu, frowned and said, Boy, get down here. That throne is not for you. Even if you're a member of the royal family, you're not qualified to sit on that throne. Second update. Chapter 3:21. Northwest General, please calm down. I'm here because of the matter regarding the commander of the Qin Shi Huang army. Prince of Bloody Kill looked calm, as if he had already guessed Northwest General Hong Yu's reaction. Not only Northwest General Hong Yu, but the others also wanted Chu Fengmian to step down from the golden throne. They had been fighting for the golden throne for a long time, but no one could sit on it. How could Chu Fengmian get it? The other deputy commanders and guarding generals didn't say anything, because Han Yu's words represented their thoughts. What? The position of the commander has been vacant for a long time. Is Princess Tianyin going to let this guy take the position? Northwest General Han Yu looked at Chu Fengmian and laughed. A kid in the Imperial Wind Realm, not even a half-saint, wants to sit on the position of the commander of the Qin Shi Huang army? Prince of Bloody Kill, are you crazy, or is Princess Tianyin crazy? Yes, he is the one appointed by Princess Tianyin to be the commander of the Qin Shi Huang army. Prince of Bloody Kill said calmly. What? Northwest General Han Yu doesn't listen to Princess Tianyin's order? The new commander of the Qin Shi Huang army. What a joke. Does the imperial family really think they can control the Qin Shi Huang army? The position of the commander has always been chosen by us. It has nothing to do with the imperial family. A kid in the 5th level of the Imperial Wind Realm is like an ant. How dare he command us? He wants us to submit to him? Ridiculous. The generals guarding the area below also began to laugh coldly. Northwest General Han Yu looked at Chu Fengmian coldly and said, Humph. I only listen to the orders of the imperial family, not Princess Tianyin. Although Princess Tianyin represents the imperial family, who will listen to such a ridiculous order? Brat, if you obediently get down from that position now, this general can let you off this time. Otherwise, this general will have to ask you to get down from there. Northwest General Han Yu said, with killing intent. Is that so? Since you think I'm not qualified for this position, then your position as Northwest General is over. Chu Fengmian stood up and said casually, Kneel down. The moment Chu Fengmian made his move, the battle dragon aura on his body also burst out without restraint. Today, the vice commanders and generals of the Qin Shi Huang army were all extremely arrogant. If Chu Fengmian didn't teach them a lesson, he wouldn't be able to subdue them. Chu Fengmian had unleashed the power of a true sage. Therefore, he didn't even need to use the power of the rich lush steel to fight back. Even if he didn't use his sword arts, his strength was enough to fight against characters at the 4th level of the Divine Force realm. Chu Fengmian didn't even need to use his sword to defeat Northwest General Han Yu. He simply struck out with his palm. The palm strike was extremely mysterious and contained the martial skill of the ancient war dragon. His palm strike was like the palm strike of the ancient war dragon as it slammed towards Han Yu. What kind of martial skill was that? It actually contains the dragon might of a true dragon. This is an absolutely pure, true dragon martial skill. A kid in the wind resistance realm can actually unleash the power of a sage. This kid is really strange. However, it's impossible for him to defeat Han Yu with just this martial skill. The generals below discussed with each other. Han Yu's attack this time was a good opportunity to test Chu Fengmian's strength. When they saw Chu Fengmian's cultivation level, they were extremely disdainful. However, when Chu Fengmian attacked with the power of a true sage, it was enough to make them take him seriously. Boom! Chu Fengmian's palm strike landed, and the throne behind Han Yu was sent flying. His figure flashed as he activated the infinite martial skill with both hands. Invincible in 100 battles. Only I am the war god. As soon as Han Yu attacked, an ancient war god condensed behind him. These generals fought on the battlefield every day and were all war gods. Naturally, they cultivated the way of the ancient war god. As soon as the war god appeared, the surrounding hissing space calmed down. Similarly, the war god sent out a palm strike, contending against Chu Fengmian's palm strike. The war god sent out an endless wave of wind towards Chu Fengmian. Oh, you do have some strength. However, do you think you can contend with me with such a weak way of the war god? Chu Fengmian looked at Han Yu's resistance and sneered. In his body, 300 ancient war dragon blood essences were stimulated to the extreme. On Chu Fengmian's body, layers of dragon scales formed by spiritual power could be seen clearly. Chu Fengmian's every move was like a true ancient war dragon. Invincible Dragon Fist. Chu Fengmian clenched his right fist. With a boom, it was as if a true ancient war dragon was smashing towards Han Yu. The supreme dragon might completely shattered the wind and waves that Hong Yu had condensed. This terrifying punch directly blasted towards Hong Yu. Bang, bang, bang. Hong Yu spat out mouthfuls of blood under the invincible dragon fist. He already had the intention to retreat. Hong Yu's body suddenly retreated. Just as he was about to escape, Chu Fengyan had already taken a step forward and arrived in front of him. I said, "Kneel down." Chu Fengyan shouted angrily. A dragon's roar burst out from his mouth. Under the endless dragon's roar, Hong Yu's body suddenly knelt down in front of Chu Fengyan. All of this happened in an instant. By the time the crowd could see clearly, Hong Yu had been defeated and subdued by Chu Fengyan, kneeling on the ground. Who is this person? How can his strength be so terrifying? I can see that he is indeed at LV5 of the Imperial Wind Realm. However, he is strong enough to defeat Hong Yu. Who is this person? This set of martial skills is the purest true dragon martial skill. How can a person use such a purest true dragon martial skill? Could he be a true dragon? However, his aura is indeed that of a real human. What a tyrannical person. He defeated Hong Yu in just a few moves. When did such a person appear in the imperial family? Why did he come to the Qin Shi Huang army? Is he really here for the position of great commander of the Qin Shi Huang army? The remaining guarding generals, strategists, and the 3 deputy commanders could not help but change their expressions. They became extremely serious. Hong Yu was defeated in less than 3 moves by Chu Fengyan. Moreover, when they looked at Chu Fengyan, they could not see through his background. Such a person, such a martial skill, none of this was known to them. Are you willing to submit? Chu Fengyan did not care about the other guarding generals at all. He directly shouted at Hong Yu. Third update of the day. I went out for a meal and came back to continue the update. Chapter 322. Submit? Bah, who would submit to a brat of unknown origin like you? Northwest General Hong Yu knelt on the ground, his face full of anger. He was the Northwest General, an important official of a region. In the past, he could even ignore the orders of the imperial family. Today, he was defeated by a junior and forced to kneel in front of him. He felt extremely humiliated and angry at Chu Fengyan. Is that so? Since you don't want to submit, your position as the Northwest General will come to an end. Chu Fengyan looked at Hong Yu and said calmly, "Humph, let's see how you'll make me the Northwest General." Hong Yu looked at Chu Fengyan with disdain. He wouldn't be easily removed from his position as the Northwest General. In the Qin Shi Huang army, Chu Fengyan's words didn't matter. He wasn't afraid, even if he was defeated. He didn't believe that Chu Fengyan would dare to do anything to him. If Chu Fengyan dared to do anything to him, the entire Northwest Army would be thrown into chaos. It wasn't so easy to get rid of a high-ranking official like Hong Yu, an important official of a region. That was why he was so fearless. Fine, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Chu Fengyan shook his head. His eyes were extremely cold. The spiritual energy in his body suddenly condensed into a giant dragon claw. It descended from the sky and blasted toward Hong Yu. Chu Fengyan couldn't remove Hong Yu from his position, but he didn't need to go through so much trouble. As long as he killed Hong Yu, the Northwest Army's position would naturally become vacant. How dare you? How dare you kill someone in this camp? Are you out of your mind? One of the generals standing just below the 3 vice commanders suddenly roared furiously. An extremely sharp saber gleam suddenly spread out from his body. The entire camp seemed to have entered a world of saber radiance. Endless saber radiance completely destroyed Chu Fengyan's dragon claw. This man is the Northern General, Yi Gufan. He's the first among the Northern Generals. He's at the peak of the 5th tier of the Divine Power Realm. He's only below the 3 deputy commanders. He's the best friend of the Northwest General Hong Yu. He never thought of disobeying the imperial orders. The Prince of Bloodkill's voice sounded in Chu Fengyan's mind. General Jinbei, it seems like all of you feudal officials are extremely arrogant. You've even started to form factions and disregard the imperial family's orders. Today, on the first day I became the Grand Commander, I will subdue all of you one by one and change the atmosphere of the Qin Shi Huang army. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. He could also tell that the Qin Shi Huang army had already broken free from the imperial family's control. Each of the generals had formed their own cliques and kept each other in check. Now that Chu Fengmian wanted to deal with family Zhao, he also wanted to deal with the invincible army. He had to obtain the power of the Qin Shi Huang army. If Chu Fengmian became the Grand Commander and his subordinates all disobeyed his orders, that would be terrible. Today, Chu Fengmian was going to teach these people a lesson and make them submit obediently. Brat, it seems like you really think that you are the Grand Commander of the Qin Shi Huang army? Even if you have the position of Grand Commander, you still have to listen to us obediently and be our puppet. You still want to control our lives? Yi Gufan said disdainfully, "You are just an outsider. You are not a member of the Qin Shi Huang army. How dare you dream of becoming the Grand Commander? If you are sensible today, we will give you some face and let you be a puppet Grand Commander." "Oh, what if I don't listen to you?" Chu Fengmian laughed loudly. "Then this general will kill you today. I will hang your head in front of the camp and let the imperial family know that the Qin Shi Huang army is not something that an outsider can interfere with." Yi Gufan said coldly. Every word was filled with endless killing intent. "Then I will see if the imperial family still dares to send people to die. Hang your head in front of the camp." "Not bad. It's a good idea. However, the person who will be hung there is you. You dare to provoke the Grand Commander. You deserve to die. I will kill you and let the others know the consequences of disobeying orders." Chu Fengmian's eyes turned cold. His body disappeared in an instant and turned into an ancient battle dragon. Suddenly, his whole body crashed toward Yi Gufan. Heavenly Dragon Smash. The collision shook the earth and the mountains. The most powerful thing about the ancient battle dragon was its physical body. Every move of the ancient battle dragon contained the essence of martial arts. It was comparable to the most powerful martial skills. Under the impact of the collision, Yi Gufan's body felt like it was going to explode. The force was so heavy that he could not withstand it for a while. Million Blades. World of Blades. Yi Gufan took the chance to catch his breath and unleash the power of his realm. The entire space turned into a world of blades. The ground was littered with countless sharp blades. The power of any one of these blades was no less than that of an earth-rank spiritual weapon. Even Yi Gufan had turned into a blade. He had truly used his body as a blade and had a deep understanding of the Blade Tao. Using his body as a blade, Yi Gufan has reached this level. A blade cultivator who has reached this level no longer needs any spiritual weapons. Using his body as a blade is more suitable for him than any other spiritual weapons. Looks like Yi Gufan is about to break through to Divine Power Realm Level 6. Once he has mastered his body as a blade, he will be able to break through and be on the same level as the 3 deputy commanders. Yi Gufan's strength is much stronger than Hong Yu. I wonder who will win this battle. Yi Gufan is going to kill him. He is a blade cultivator. Once he wants to kill his opponent, the power of his blade will be several times stronger. I think this brat will be killed by him. But if this brat dies, our relationship with the imperial family will be strained. So what if it's strained? The imperial family is now fighting against family Zhao. They need our strength. If we kill this brat, the imperial family will not fall out with us. What's there to be afraid of? Countless spiritual consciousnesses flashed by and discussions broke out. Transforming into a blade? This kind of method was nothing more than a side branch. A true saber cultivator wouldn't even bother to use such a move. How dare you claim that you can kill me with just this move of yours? Chu Fengmian glanced at Yi Gufan and laughed. Break! The scarlet flame sword suddenly appeared in Chu Fengmian's hand. To resist Yi Gufan's blade, he needed something sharper. Chu Fengmian used his sword to resist Yi Gufan's blade. The battle between the blade and the blade had been going on since ancient times. Today, it was the real battle between the blade and the blade. With a slash of his sword, the endless blade was shattered. Thank you for the reward from the Kitchen Knife Gang. Thank you for your support. I have seen you reward me several times. Chapter 323. In the world of blades, there was a flash of sword light that cut off all the blade radiance. The flash of sword light cut off all the blade radiance in a world of blades, as if there was no one there. The entire world of blades seemed to be unable to stop the flash of sword light. What a terrifying swordsmanship! Isn't he cultivating the Dragon Clan martial technique? How could he have such a terrifying swordsmanship? I can feel that his sword is much more powerful than his Dragon Clan martial technique. Could he be a sword cultivator? Where did he get such terrifying strength at such a young age? Not only did he learn so many Dragon Clan martial techniques, but he also possesses such a powerful swordsmanship. King Swordslayer, how is your swordsmanship compared to his? Some generals turned to look at one of the strategists. The strategist was a sword cultivator, and his name was King Swordslayer. His swordsmanship was the best in the entire Qin Shi Huang army. Hence, when they saw Chu Fengmian's shocking swordsmanship, they turned to ask him about it. This man's swordsmanship is extremely terrifying. King Swordslayer's face changed when he saw Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship. His body trembled. As a sword cultivator, he naturally knew how terrifying Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship was. The swordsmanship looked ordinary, but he could not comprehend the mystery behind it. The gap between their attainments in swordsmanship was too huge. However, King Swordslayer knew that if he were to fight with Chu Fengmian, he would definitely be defeated by the swordsmanship. The battle between two sword cultivators was a battle of swordsmanship. There was nothing fancy about it. This man's swordsmanship, is it enough to contend with you? One of the generals looked at King Swordslayer's expression and said in surprise. King Swordslayer was a famous sword principle expert. He was considered a sword principle grandmaster in the entire Qin Shi Huang Empire. How old was Chu Fengmian? They could see that Chu Fengmian was at most in his early 20s. They had seen geniuses with extremely high cultivation levels before, because some monstrous geniuses with extremely high aptitudes could indeed soar to the heavens if they had a fortuitous encounter. They would have extremely terrifying strength at such a young age. However, the Tao of the sword was different. The Tao of the sword required a long period of comprehension. It wasn't something that could be comprehended overnight. Chu Fengmian was so young. How could he have such terrifying swordsmanship that he could contend against the Sword Slayer monarch? No, the Sword Slayer lord's voice trembled slightly. Oh, if this kid's swordsmanship is on par with yours, then it is indeed a little too exaggerated. However, seeing that he was able to fight against Yi Gufan, I'm afraid his swordsmanship is not too bad. Hearing the Sword Slayer monarch's words, the general's expression relaxed a lot, and he spoke. No, I'm saying that my swordsmanship is inferior to his. It can even be said that my sword Tao is completely incomparable to his. The Sword Slayer King said slowly. His heart was also under great pressure when he said these words. He was a sword Tao grandmaster in the Qin Empire. Today, he took the initiative to admit his inferiority in front of a junior, which was something that he couldn't accept. However, the truth was in front of him. His sword Tao was on a completely different level compared to Chu Fengmian's. There was no possibility of comparison. Far inferior. When the Sword Slayer King spat out those 4 words, everyone present was dumbfounded. Far inferior. This evaluation was something none of them had expected. In their estimation, it was already shocking that Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship could contend against the Sword Slayer monarch. However, the Sword Slayer King actually said that Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship was far inferior. Even if a Sword Tao Grandmaster from a high-tier kingdom were to come, the Sword Slayer King's evaluation would be slightly inferior. However, there had never been an evaluation that was far inferior. Sword Slayer King, is what you said true? Hearing the Sword Slayer King's words, Deputy Commander Bai couldn't help but turn his head and ask, That's right. My swordsmanship is indeed far inferior to his. He is more terrifying than any Sword Tao Grandmaster that I have ever seen. The Sword Slayer King said slowly. What will happen in the battle between him and Yi Gufan? Another general asked. I'm afraid that Yi Gufan will lose, and he will lose miserably. The Sword Slayer King said word by word. This level of swordsmanship was definitely not something that Yi Gufan could withstand. After saying that, the Sword Slayer King didn't say anything else. He focused on watching Chu Fengyan's swordsmanship. Every time he saw such a fearsome swordsmanship, he would learn a lot from it. The others present also looked at Chu Fengyan. They didn't believe the Sword Slayer King's words. They had to see with their own eyes how powerful Chu Fengyan's swordsmanship was. Yi Gufan, who was fighting against Chu Fengyan in the Blade World, was sweating profusely. Oppression. He had never thought that he would be oppressed to such an extent. Chu Fengyan's swordsmanship was deadly. His saber radiance was actually far inferior to Chu Fengyan's. His thousands of saber radiance were all shattered by Chu Fengyan's swordsmanship. Suddenly, Yi Gufan's expression changed. He gritted his teeth and spat out a large amount of blood essence from his mouth. This was the blood essence of a saint. Yi Gufan's origin energy. Once the saint's blood essence was spat out, it burned fiercely in the Blade World. Blood sacrifice to the saber. Ancient sacrificial art. He burned his own origin energy to enhance the power of his saber. Shakyamuni's cleaving saber. Yi Gufan turned into a saber and slashed at Chu Fengyan with a terrifying saber that pierced through the Blade World. This move was truly a supreme killing move. It was the culmination of Yi Gufan's lifetime saber intent. He was going to kill Chu Fengyan with this move, even if he had to sacrifice his origin energy. Your fighting spirit is commendable. However, it's a pity that no matter how strong your saber is, it can't shake my sword. Chu Fengyan looked at Yi Gufan's actions and said coldly. Endless killing intent burst out from Chu Fengyan's body. Blood chi wrapped around the blade in Chu Fengyan's hand. Slaughtering swordsmanship. Thousands of feet of blood chi turned into a sharp blood mark and slashed at Yi Gufan. In front of this blood mark, Yi Gufan's saber shattered bit by bit. The entire Blade World exploded. Under Chu Fengyan's slaughtering swordsmanship, Yi Gufan's strength was no match for Chu Fengyan. A head flew out and was caught by Chu Fengyan. It was Yi Gufan's head. Today's 5th update. Chapter 324. Chu Fengyan's sword was too fast and terrifying. Before the countless experts present could react, Yi Gufan had already been killed by Chu Fengyan. He had fallen. Yi Gufan was one of the 12 garrison generals. He was at the peak of the 5th level of the Divine Power Realm and was close to the 6th level of the Divine Power Realm. Yet, he was killed by Chu Fengyan. The result was beyond everyone's expectation. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts when they saw Yi Gufan flying away. Chu Fengyan's strength was like a miracle. How could a 5th level of the Imperial Wind Realm kill a 5th level Divine Power Realm saint? No one knew what was going on, but none of them dared to look down on Chu Fengyan anymore. Being able to kill Yi Gufan, Chu Fengyan's strength had surpassed most of the people present. He was only below the 3 vice commanders. Who else doesn't want to submit? Chu Fengyan raised Yi Gufan's head and shouted coldly. Yi Gufan provoked Chu Fengyan continuously and even tried to stop him, wanting to make him his puppet. Such a person must be killed. Only by killing him could he intimidate these people. What should we do? Do we have to submit to him? If we submit to such a junior, we won't have any face left in the Qin Empire. But this kid is ruthless. Even Yi Gufan was killed by him. If we go against him, I'm afraid we'll end up like Yi Gufan. The garrison generals and the 4 strategists discussed with each other using their spiritual awareness. They were unwilling to submit to Chu Fengyan, but none of them dared to stand out and go against Chu Fengyan. Chu Fengyan's killing of Yi Gufan was indeed a warning to others. Yi Gufan had died at Chu Fengyan's hands. If they still dared to resist Chu Fengyan, they would probably end up like Yi Gufan. Everyone present had gone through untold hardships to reach the Saint Realm. No one wanted to die. I'm willing to submit. One of the 4 strategists, Sword Slayer King, walked out and knelt in front of Chu Fengyan. I'm willing to submit to an expert. He was deeply impressed by Chu Fengyan's swordsmanship. I'm willing to submit to the Grand Commander. I only hope that the Grand Commander can teach me some sword techniques. Good, Sword Slayer Monarch. You are indeed a smart person. You will definitely rejoice over your decision in the future. Chu Fengyan looked at King Sword Slayer and threw out Yi Gufan's head. Sword Slayer Monarch, hang this head in the camp and tell the others the consequences of disobeying orders. The position of Northern General is still vacant. You can take it. Yes. The Sword Slayer monarch retreated with a joyful expression. The Northern Field Marshal had a much higher status than a strategist like him. Although a strategist status was high, he didn't have any real power. The Northern Field Marshal was someone who commanded an army. He had just joined Chu Fengmian, and Chu Fengmian had already given him such benefits, which made the Sword Slayer King overjoyed. Where are the others? Are you willing to submit? Chu Fengmian's eyes swept across the countless people present. His face was extremely cold, and his words were filled with killing intent. Chu Fengmian could see that each of them had their own plans, but it was impossible for them to play such tricks in front of Chu Fengmian. I'm also willing to submit. Hong Yu, who was kneeling on the ground, stammered as he spoke. Yi Gufan's death had deeply shaken him. There was a huge gap between his strength and Yi Gufan's. If he didn't know what was good for him and submit now, he was afraid that his head would be hung in the camp just like Yi Gufan's head. Good. Since you are willing to submit, then your previous offense against me will be written off. However, since you had the intention to rebel, I will plant a seal on your body. Chu Fengmian glanced at Hong Yu and said coldly. He raised his palm, and a black seal was suddenly implanted into Hong Yu's body. Zhu Tian's seal of death was firmly engraved on Hong Yu's body, making him unable to resist Chu Fengmian. Yes, I will do my best to assist the commander and command the entire army. Hong Yu stood up and spoke respectfully. Then, he obediently withdrew. Seeing the seal on Hong Yu's body, the expressions of the others present turned ugly. Many of them wanted to submit after seeing the Sword Slayer King surrender and the benefits Chu Fengmian had given him. However, when they saw the seal on Hong Yu, they changed their minds and didn't want to submit. Once the seal was planted, their lives would be under Chu Fengmian's control. Although they couldn't be considered slaves, it was still extremely humiliating. They were all used to being free and unrestrained. They originally thought that even if Chu Fengmian became the commander, they could still disobey his orders and ignore him. However, once the seal was planted, they would no longer have a choice. What? Are the others not going to submit? Chu Fengmian's eyes turned cold, and his words contained some anger. It was as if he was an ancient war dragon that would be enraged at any time. It made one's heart turn cold. Young man, although your strength isn't bad, your character is too unyielding and arrogant. Such a character isn't enough to command the entire army. A vice commander stepped forward and spoke all of a sudden. When the deputy commander stood out, the gazes of the other guarding generals couldn't help but look at him. They couldn't contend against Chu Fengmian. The only ones who could were the three deputy commanders present. The three deputy commanders had been fighting for the position of the commander for a long time. Now, the three of them definitely wouldn't allow an outsider to command them. Marshal God Tai, he's the deputy commander of the Qin Shi Huang army, known as the Martial God. He's extremely strong. 100 years ago, he stepped into the 6th level of the divine power realm. Now, he's probably approaching the peak of the 6th level of the divine power realm. He's not easy to deal with. Prince Blood Massacre hurriedly reminded with his spiritual consciousness. His words showed that he was extremely afraid of the Martial God Tai. The Martial God Tai had a high reputation in the Qin Shi Huang army. However, if Chu Fengmian couldn't pass him, he wouldn't be able to take the position of the commander. Martial God Tai, it's not up to you whether I can command the entire army or not. What? Do you think that you're more suitable for this position than I am? Chu Fengmian looked at the Martial God Tai and said with a laugh, considering that you've made great contributions in the Qin Shi Huang army, I'll give you a chance to fulfill your wish. As long as you can defeat me, I'll agree to let you take the position of the great commander of the Qin Shi Huang army. What do you think? Today, there's a total of 6 chapters. I'll continue to update tomorrow. Xiao Yu tried his best to write as much as he could, and he had written as much as he could. Chapter 325. Chu Fengmian laughed out loud. He naturally knew what Tai Army God was thinking. Tai Army God had always wanted to be the Grand Commander. Now that Chu Fengmian intended to subdue Tai Army God, why not give him the opportunity? Chu Fengmian wanted to subdue Tai Army God wholeheartedly. After all, the Qin Shi Huang army needed someone to lead it. Are you serious? The expression of the god of war, Tai, instantly changed and became much more serious. He had been coveting the position of Grand Commander for a long time. Now that the opportunity was placed in front of him, it was simply at his fingertips. He had observed Chu Fengmian's strength just now. Although Chu Fengmian was powerful, Chu Fengmian was still not his opponent. The 6th level of Divine Power Realm was already one of the best among the saints. His strength had already surpassed the ordinary saints. Tai Army God was able to become the vice commander not only because of his ability to lead the army, but also because of his formidable strength. My words are naturally true. As long as you can defeat me, there is no harm in giving you the position of Grand Commander. Chu Fengmian looked at Tai Army God and laughed out loud. But if you lose, you will have to submit obediently. Humph. If this old man is defeated, I will submit willingly. So what if I become your subordinate? Tai Army God snorted coldly. His words were full of confidence. He was a famous expert. If he could not even deal with Chu Fengmian today, he would not be worthy of the title of Tai Army God. All right. After saying that, Chu Fengmian slowly stood up. An extremely tyrannical force suddenly burst out from his body. This force caused Chu Fengmian's realm to rise steadily. The power of the ancient battle dragon's blood essence and the battle dragon's secret art were pushed to the extreme. At the same time, a terrifying sword intent and terrifying killing intent were added to Chu Fengmian's body. Chu Fengmian had already displayed all of his strength. The aura on his body was much more terrifying than when he killed Yi Gufan. What? His strength has become much more tyrannical? When he killed Yi Gufan, he was still holding back his strength. 5th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. He is really a warrior of the Imperial Wind Realm. How could he possess such a terrifying power? Such a monstrous talent should not appear in this world. Not to mention our Qin Empire, even in the most advanced countries, there is no such terrifying genius. The onlookers were so scared that they almost fainted. Chu Fengmian's ability to kill Yi Gufan was already enough for them to acknowledge his strength. However, the strength that Chu Fengmian had displayed was actually much stronger than when he had killed Yi Gufan. Such terrifying strength was possessed by a junior at the 5th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. This was simply unimaginable. It was impossible to imagine that there was such a figure in the 9 regions. Good lad, your strength is indeed more terrifying than what this old man had imagined. The Tai War God looked at Chu Fengmian with a grave expression, but deep down, he was still brimming with confidence. He refused to believe that he would lose to Chu Fengmian. Be careful. I won't hold anything back. The Tai War God shouted. His flesh and blood swelled up. Suddenly, it was as if an endless battle intent had been added to the Tai War God's body. The aura of the War God Tai was like that of an army of millions, majestic to the extreme. He was known as the War God. He had led troops to war and experienced countless bloody battles. His entire being was born for war. He was like a real invincible war god, boundless heaven and earth. The boundless spiritual energy suddenly condensed and crazily rushed towards Chu Fengmian. The boundless heaven and earth was a move that the Tai War God had comprehended himself. It was a terrifying martial skill that he had comprehended after experiencing countless bloody battles. Its power was extremely terrifying. Although it was not the most powerful martial skill, it was the most suitable martial skill for the Tai War God. In the hands of the Tai War God, it could unleash the most powerful power, comparable to a heaven-level martial skill. The move, coupled with the Tai War God's boundless military aura, was simply terrifying to the extreme. Fighting against the Tai War God was like fighting against thousands of soldiers and horses. The power was so strong that no end could be seen, causing despair to rise in people's hearts. This was a martial artist who was born for war. This move was the Tai War God's most powerful move. Chu Fengmian's trump card was really unfathomable. Even the Tai War God could not see through Chu Fengmian's trump card. Instead of being entangled with Chu Fengmian, it was better to use his strongest killing move, intending to defeat Chu Fengmian in one move. Worthy of being the Tai War God, Chu Fengmian looked at the Tai war god's move and praised in his heart. The Tai war god was indeed worthy of the title of war god. Chu Fengmian understood that the Tai war god was the real war god. The boundless heaven and earth was like tens of thousands of iron cavalry, rushing towards Chu Fengmian at the same time. No matter how strong a person was, he could not contend against tens of thousands of iron cavalry. However, Chu Fengmian was not human. His bloodline was the bloodline of the ancient war dragon. The current Chu Fengmian was a real ancient war dragon. Humans could not contend against it, but in front of an ancient war dragon, no matter how many armies there were, they were just ants. Dragon conquers the world. Chu Fengmian's figure moved. The sword in his hand was wrapped with endless dragon aura, and he suddenly slashed out. This sword contained the might of the war dragon. It was like a war dragon, fighting with tens of thousands of iron cavalry. The iron cavalry strength was amazing, but it still could not shake a real war dragon. The boundless heaven and earth of the Tai war god was completely neutralized by Chu Fengmian's sword. Humph! The Tai war god snorted coldly after his move was neutralized, but suddenly he struck out another move. The Tai war god was a person who had seen all kinds of big scenes. After losing a move, he quickly adjusted and blasted another move towards Chu Fengmian. In a war, the momentum of the army could not be weak. Once the momentum was lost, the army would naturally be routed. The martial Tao of the Tai war god was no different from the true martial Tao of war. Even if he lost for a while, he must muster enough momentum to reverse the situation in one fell swoop. Invincible Overlord. As the Tai war god roared, another wave of majestic power blasted towards Chu Fengmian. If the boundless heaven and earth last time was the attack of tens of thousands of iron cavalry, then this time it was a real army with thousands of men and horses rushing towards Chu Fengmian. No matter how powerful the existence was, it was impossible to contend against a real army with thousands of men and horses. No matter how strong the army is, it can't be without dragons. Today, I will capture you, dragon. Let's see how much of your supreme military might can be displayed. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. He took a step forward, and his whole body turned into a phantom. In a flash, he approached the Tai war god. Today's first update, although it will be later, but I will not miss any updates. Don't worry. Chapter 3:26. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. The greatest weakness of the war god Tai's Tao of war was himself. If Chu Fengmian continued to fight the war god Tai's Tao of war, he wouldn't be defeated, but he would never be able to defeat the war god Tai. That was why the war god Tai was so strong. In a direct confrontation, he was comparable to a saint in the 7th level of the God Force realm. Therefore, Chu Fengmian reacted quickly. He took a step forward and closed in on the war god Tai, intending to capture the war god Tai. Battle Heavenly Axe. The war god Tai's expression didn't change as he watched Chu Fengmian approach. His right hand formed an axe, and he swung it down, intending to crush Chu Fengmian to pieces. However, a stone steel suddenly appeared in Chu Fengmian's hand. Infused with spiritual power, the steel grew larger. Boom! 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 Immediately, an extremely powerful energy burst out from the stone tablet. The monolith was so powerful that even Tai Junshin didn't expect it. His body couldn't resist it, and he was sent flying. The rich lush steel. Chu Fengmian had no intention of using the rich lush steel, but the war god Tai's strength was too terrifying. If he wanted to defeat the war god Tai, he would have to achieve a complete victory. Only then would he be able to intimidate the experts of the Qin Imperial Army. The rich lush steel was Chu Fengmian's trump card, something he didn't want to use casually. But now that he had the remains of an extreme Tao immortal weapon, as well as the strange jar, it was definitely stronger than the rich lush steel. Since there was no need to hide it, Chu Fengmian decided to use the rich lush steel to intimidate the war god Tai. Not good, the war god Tai screamed. The sudden appearance of the rich lush steel was definitely beyond his expectations. He had already guessed that Chu Fengmian would choose to fight him, So he prepared his spiritual power to take advantage of the opportunity to defeat Chu Fengmian. However, the rich lush steel's appearance was completely unexpected. In the face of the rich lush steel's absolute power, the war god Tai's strength was easily defeated. This caused all the plans he had in his mind to go up in smoke. His entire body was sent flying, and a few drops of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. I've lost. The Tai war god looked at Chu Fengmian and sighed. Truth be told, he hadn't used the full power of the rich lush tombstone just now. Otherwise, there was no way the Titan war god would have been able to defend himself against the power of the rich lush tombstone. Now, he was only slightly injured, and that was because Chu Fengmian had shown mercy. Naturally, the Tai army god was also aware of this, so of course he admitted defeat. Defeated. Even the Tai war god was defeated. The faces of the generals below all turned pale. Chu Fengmian was indeed terrifying enough to defeat the war god of Tai. This kind of strength had indeed surpassed everyone present. Who else could contend against Chu Fengmian when even the Tai military god had been defeated? The strength of the other two vice commanders was also on par with the Tai army god. Since the Tai army god had suffered a crushing defeat, the two of them would not fare any better. Who else? Unwilling to submit? Chu Fengmian sat on his golden throne and swept his gaze over the countless people present. Everyone who met his gaze felt a chill in their hearts. They understood that this was Chu Fengmian's final warning. Given his personality, if anyone refused to submit, he would definitely kill them all. Those who submitted to him would prosper, and those who opposed him would perish. Since Chu Fengmian wanted to assume the position of Grand Marshal of the Qin Imperial Army, he naturally wouldn't allow anyone to go against his will. Anyone who dared to disobey would have to die. We are willing to submit. We will follow the Grand Marshal. The remaining generals and strategists looked at each other, then simultaneously knelt on the ground and shouted, "Let's do this!" They had pinned all their hopes on the war god of Tai. Since the war god had been defeated, they no longer had the confidence to resist Chu Fengmian. One by one, they knelt on the ground to express their allegiance. The war god of Tai, Lord Swordslayer, and Hong Yu had long since knelt on the ground. As for the two vice commanders, after a moment of hesitation, they too knelt and chose to submit. All the experts of the Qin Imperial Army had submitted. Young Master Chu is really brave. The Prince of Bloodkill, who was standing aside, was so excited that he almost went crazy when he saw this scene. The Qin Imperial Army was a big problem for the imperial family. The position of Grand Marshal had always been vacant. Moreover, there were countless experts who didn't follow the imperial family's orders. Chu Fengmian's arrival had solved their biggest problem. How could the Prince of Bloodkill not be excited? Good. Since all of you have chosen to submit, I will give you a gift for our first meeting. Chu Fengmian's mind flickered, and more than 20 drops of golden blood were condensed. They flew toward each of the people present. Fuse this drop of blood into your bloodline. It will bring you incomparably great benefits. Consider it a greeting gift from me to everyone present. Chu Fengmian waved his hand, and all the golden blood flew out and fused with their bodies. At first, everyone present was extremely resistant to the golden blood entering their bodies. However, when they felt the earth-shaking changes in their bodies, their faces completely changed. When the drop of golden blood fused with their bodies, it actually improved their physiques and even made their martial arts progress. Every drop of golden blood was the ancient war dragon's blood essence. If it was in the past, Chu Fengmian would need to rest for a long time to recover. However, Chu Fengmian's realm had improved, and there were 300 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence in his body. Even if he lost more than 20 drops, he could quickly recover them. The real dragon's blood essence was a treasure that warriors yearned for. It could improve their realm, improve their physique, and prolong their lifespan. There were simply too many benefits to count. The golden blood that Chu Fengmian condensed was the ancient war dragon's blood essence, which was countless times more superior than the real dragon's blood essence. The real dragon's blood essence was like trash in front of Chu Fengmian's blood essence. This drop of ancient war dragon's blood essence was much more useful than any treasure to them. However, the ancient war dragon's blood essence was not that easy to obtain. The ancient war dragon's blood essence had fused with the blood of all the experts present. As long as they had the intention to rebel, Chu Fengmian would directly activate the power of the ancient war dragon's blood essence and make them explode one by one. However, if they did not have the intention to rebel and were loyal to Chu Fengmian, then the ancient war dragon's blood essence would indeed be endlessly beneficial to them. Second update for today. Thank you for love. Protect in the rain for a lifetime. Spirit of the wind, reward bravely. Chapter 3:27. Thank you for your kindness, great commander. We'll follow you loyally. Tai army god shouted, his voice filled with loyalty. Originally, he was still resentful after serving Chu Fengmian. However, after obtaining the ancient battle dragon's essence blood, all his resentment disappeared, leaving only endless gratitude and loyalty. Tai army god had lived for 1,000 years. He was already very old, and his lifespan was already nearing its end. He would probably die in less than 100 years. But now, after the ancient battle dragon's essence blood fused with his bloodline, his body's vitality was restored, and his lifespan increased by several times. This made Tai army god feel the hope of a breakthrough. Even if he couldn't cross the life and death calamity and enter the life and death realm, as long as he reached the peak of the Saint Realm, his lifespan would increase by another 1,000 years. How could Tai army god not be grateful to Chu Fengmian? Now, Chu Fengmian had given him his second life. He had no way of repaying such a benefit and could only pledge his loyalty. Tai army god was not the only one who had obtained benefits. Everyone present had obtained the benefits of the ancient battle dragon's essence blood, and their faces lit up with excitement. This was only a temporary effect. The benefits of the ancient battle dragon's essence blood were far from just this. Killing Yigufan was supposed to weaken the overall strength of Qin Shi Huang army. But now, with the tempering of the ancient battle dragon's essence blood, everyone's strength had risen to another level. The overall strength of Qin Shi Huang army had risen even more than before, not to mention the addition of a great commander like Chu Fengmian. We're willing to pledge our loyalty to great commander. The rest of the people present also reacted one by one. One by one, they knelt on the ground and shouted. This time, they weren't forced to do so, but from the bottom of their hearts. Chu Fengmian understood the principle of using both kindness and severity. All right, everyone, please sit down. Although I've come to Qin Shi Huang army to assume the position of great commander, the management of Qin Shi Huang army will still be in the hands of everyone present. I won't interfere. Chu Fengmian looked at the row of thrones below and said calmly. Although Chu Fengmian had taken up the position of Grand Commander, he was not in the mood to manage such an army. The Qin Shi Huang army had millions of soldiers. Managing each and every one of them was extremely troublesome. Chu Fengmian did not have the time for that. He controlled the Qin Shi Huang army, so that when they were dealing with Family Zhao's invincible army in the future, the Qin Shi Huang army would go all out. As for the rest, Chu Fengmian didn't care at all. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, everyone's face lit up. Chu Fengmian did not interfere in the management, which meant that they still had power. Naturally, they were overjoyed. In this way, although Chu Fengmian had become the Grand Commander, it wouldn't affect them in the slightest. This was naturally what they hoped for the most. Right now, the members of the Qin Shi Huang army are training and preparing to fight against the invincible army. Chu Fengmian said calmly. He did not hide the fact that his greatest enemy was Family Zhao. If he wanted to deal with Family Zhao, he would have to deal with the invincible army first. Yes, everyone shouted in unison. All right, Sword Slayer Monarch, you stay. The rest of you can leave. Chu Fengmian said calmly. The saints on the thrones left one after another, leaving only Sword Slayer Monarch and Prince of Bloodkill behind. Sword Slayer Monarch, you want to learn my swordsmanship? Chu Fengmian looked at Sword Slayer Monarch and said calmly. Sword Slayer Monarch was the first one to submit because he was the first one to see how powerful Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship was. He was subdued by Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship and only wanted to follow Chu Fengmian and improve his swordsmanship. Chu Fengmian naturally wouldn't mistreat such a smart person who knew how to adapt to circumstances. Yes, Grand Commander, please give me some pointers. Sword Slayer Monarch knelt on the ground and said in a deep voice, "Please grant my wish, Grand Commander." "All right, since you're the first one to submit, I'll agree to your request. Stand up and use your strongest swordsmanship to slash at me." Chu Fengmian looked at Sword Slayer Monarch and said calmly. Sword Slayer Monarch was also a genius swordsman. In Chu Fengmian's opinion, he was at least a talented person. However, in a small place like the Qin Empire, his swordsmanship had reached a bottleneck. If he didn't have the guidance of a stronger swordsman, he wouldn't be able to improve much in his lifetime. Today, he met Chu Fengmian and was willing to submit to Chu Fengmian. It could be said that they were fated. Chu Fengmian planned to teach Sword Slayer Monarch a move or two. As for how much he could comprehend, it wasn't Chu Fengmian's concern. Yes, Sword Slayer Monarch stood up with a joyful expression. He looked at Chu Fengmian and unsheathed his sword. Suddenly, a sharp sword intent was condensed. Sword Slayer Monarch's sword intent was extremely sharp. If it was too hard, it would break easily. However, a truly ferocious sword intent was also very powerful. Even if he were to encounter a powerful warrior, he would still have the power to fight. "Draw your sword." Chu Fengmian sat on the golden throne and said calmly. He didn't condense any spiritual energy on his body as he sat quietly on the golden throne. Yes, looking at Chu Fengmian sitting on the golden throne, Sword Slayer Monarch's heart was filled with anger. After all, he was an expert in the sword Dao. Since when was he looked down upon like this? Chu Fengmian's action was as if he didn't put him in his eyes. His sword flashed, and his whole body seemed to have become one with the sword. Fleeting sword. This sword was extremely fast. In an instant, the sword was aimed at Chu Fengmian's throat. It was an absolute killing move. Not bad. Chu Fengmian looked at Sword Slayer Monarch's sword and couldn't help but nod. Sword Slayer Monarch didn't disappoint Chu Fengmian. He was already considered a genius in the sword Dao to be able to comprehend such a state. However, this level of sword technique was like a child's play in Chu Fengmian's eyes. His praise was only for the younger generation. It was impossible for this level of sword technique to hurt Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's finger lightly pointed, and there was a trace of sword intent on his finger. However, this finger pointed at the weakest point of Sword Slayer Monarch's sword, and the sword in his hand flew out. For a swordsman, losing the sword meant that he had lost. A swordsman who lost his sword would have his strength greatly reduced. If Sword Slayer Monarch was forced to withdraw his sword, he would be a dead man in a real battle. Prince of Bloodkill, who was watching from the side, was stunned to the extreme. He had heard about Sword Slayer Monarch's sword technique. His strength was on par with Sword Slayer Monarch's, but he could only retreat and didn't dare to resist Sword Slayer Monarch's sword technique. Chapter 328. The Sword Slayer King didn't hold back at all. It was truly his strongest move. But now, the Sword Slayer King's strongest move was easily neutralized by Chu Fengmian. It could even be said that Chu Fengmian did not really make a move. He only sat on the golden throne and slightly pointed his finger to neutralize the Sword Slayer King's strongest move. This kind of strength was simply astounding. Even if the number one expert of the Qin Empire, Zhao Wudi, was here, he might not be able to neutralize the Sword Slayer King's move so easily. However, only Chu Fengmian and the Sword Slayer King could understand the mystery of the move. As for the Prince of Bloodkill, he could only watch the show. The fight between sword cultivators was naturally decided in one move. The sword principle of both sides could be seen in one move. The place where Chu Fengmian pointed his finger was the weakest point of the Sword Slayer King's sword principle. Naturally, Chu Fengmian could easily neutralize the move. Your sword principle has gradually matured. You can't learn my sword principle. Chu Fengmian looked at the Sword Slayer King and said without hiding anything. The Sword Slayer King had already formed his own sword principle. It was impossible for him to learn Chu Fengmian's sword principle. Hearing this, the Sword Slayer King sighed slightly and felt a little disappointed. However, This was within his expectations. I'm satisfied that the great commander can give me some pointers. The Sword Slayer King looked at Chu Fengmian and knelt before him again. He had just experienced Chu Fengmian's sword principle. It was much stronger than any sword principle grandmaster that he had ever met. To be able to receive pointers from Chu Fengmian, it would be beneficial for him for life. Your swordsmanship is one of the strongest and most unyielding swordsmanship. It's completely different from my swordsmanship. I can't really give you any pointers. However, these are some of my swordsmanship insights that I once casually wrote down. Chu Fengmian pondered and waved his hand. A wave of spiritual consciousness entered the Sword Slayer King's mind. Among them was Chu Fengmian's sword principle comprehension. Although his sword principle was different from the Sword Slayer King's, it was still useful to the Sword Slayer King. Thank you, Grand Commander. I am willing to serve you as my master and follow you. Seeing Chu Fengmian's comprehension of the way of the sword, the Sword Slayer King became extremely excited and shouted loudly. The comprehension of Sword Dao was the most precious thing to any sword cultivator. No Sword Dao Grandmaster would impart it. Now that Chu Fengmian had given such a precious Sword Dao comprehension to the Sword Slayer King, he was extremely excited and wanted to serve Chu Fengmian as his master. Following Chu Fengmian was a true wise master with a bright future ahead of him. There's no need for you to acknowledge me as your master. This Sword Dao comprehension is indeed not something too precious. You can take a look at it yourself. Chu Fengmian said calmly. Although the Sword Dao comprehension was precious, Chu Fengmian didn't mind giving it away. Chu Fengmian was not one of those swordsmanship grandmasters who hid their skills every day. Those people were stuck in a rut and could not improve their swordsmanship. Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship could reach the peak because he did not care about these things. Prince of Bloodkill, let's stay here for a few days and reorganize. We'll set off in a few days. Chu Fengmian glanced at Prince of Bloodkill and said. Prince of Bloodkill was extremely familiar with the Qin Empire. He could introduce many experts in the Qin Empire to Chu Fengmian. It was quite useful. Of course, he would not let Prince of Bloodkill leave now. Set off? Where to? Isn't the Qin Empire's army ready? Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Prince of Bloodkill was puzzled. Now, Chu Fengmian had made all the experts in the Qin Empire's army submit to him and become the commander of the army. Logically speaking, everything should be ready. However, from Chu Fengmian's words, it seemed that Chu Fengmian had other plans. Reorganizing the Qin Empire's army is just the first step. Is the Qin Empire's army enough to deal with Family Zhao? Chu Fengmian looked at Prince of Bloodkill and said with a smile, Family Zhao's invincible army is not that easy to deal with. What's Master Chu's plan? Prince of Bloodkill hesitated for a while and asked. To contend with the invincible army, the Qin Empire's army alone was not enough. After all, the invincible army was the strongest of the three armies. However, apart from the Qin Empire's army, the imperial family did not have any other army they could use. The destruction army had always been neutral. Now, they were even supporting Family Zhao. It was impossible for them to help the imperial family. Chu Fengmian said with a cold smile. Of course, I'm going to the destruction army. Master Chu wants to rope in the destruction army? Impossible. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Prince of Bloodkill shook his head and said, Those old foxes of the Shadow Legion are a bunch of old foxes. They never do things that don't benefit them. Plus, young Master Chu cut off one of Yuan Kun's arms. As the vice commander of the Shadow Legion, he must hate young Master Chu to the bone. It's impossible to rope in the destruction army now. Prince of Bloodkill shook his head. The imperial family had tried many times to rope in the destruction army, but all of them had failed. Moreover, Family Zhao was very powerful now. The destruction army was already on Family Zhao's side. It was meaningless to rope in the destruction army now. Who said I'm going to rope in the destruction army? Those people from the Shadow Legion aren't qualified for me to recruit. Chu Fengmian said with a confident smile. I'm going to make the destruction army surrender completely. What? Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Prince of Bloodkill could not believe his ears. Chu Fengmian's words were extremely arrogant. Make the Annihilation Legion submit? The destruction army was more powerful than the Qin Empire's army. Furthermore, it wasn't as simple as the Qin Shi Huang army to make the Shatter Legion submit, because the Shatter Legion had a grand commander. Master Chu, don't joke. If the Destruction Army was so easy to deal with, they would have been conquered by family Zhao long ago. Prince of Bloodkill said with a serious face. The commander of the Destruction Army, Ao Jinyuan, is a saint at the 7th level of the Divine Power Realm. Only a saint at the peak of the Divine Power Realm can defeat him. In the Qin Empire, he is almost invincible. No one dares to provoke him. Even family Zhao's people can't deal with him. It's impossible to defeat him. So what? Chu Fengyan sneered. For a saint at the 7th level of the Divine Force Realm, it wasn't that the current Chu Fengyan didn't have any strength to fight against him. However, if he wanted to defeat him completely, he would still need to wait for a few days. 4th update. Chapter 329. Prince of Bloodkill, please stay here for a few more days. Chu Fengyan said calmly. He didn't want to argue with Prince of Bloodkill anymore. Okay. Prince of Bloodkill hesitated for a while, then nodded. He didn't expect that the reorganization of the Qin Shi Huang army would go so smoothly. It wouldn't be a problem for him to stay here for a few more days. King of Sword Slayer, is there a quiet place in this camp that's suitable for cultivation? Chu Fengyan looked at King of Sword Slayer and suddenly asked. He had bought countless things from the auction, but he hadn't had time to study them, especially the fragment of the extreme immortal weapon. Now he really needed to study it. Chu Fengyan's current strength was far from being able to compete with Zhao Wudi. Zhao Wudi was a peak saint expert. He was even confident that he could pass the Great Tribulation. Even if Zhao Wudi hadn't passed the Great Tribulation, Chu Fengyan was still far from being his opponent. To deal with family Zhao, Chu Fengyan and Zhao Wudi would have to fight sooner or later. Now, he had to improve his strength. At least, he had to be able to contend with Zhao Wudi. Only then could he have the capital to contend with family Zhao. Now, Chu Fengyan wanted to deal with the Destruction Legion. At least, he had to defeat the commander of the Destruction Legion, Ao Jinyuan. In the next few days, Chu Fengyan had to improve his strength. Yes, young master. This way, please. King of Sword Slayer stood up from the ground and hurriedly led Chu Fengyan to another tent in the camp. This tent was an earth-grade spiritual artifact. It looked like it had been specially refined by someone to be used for peaceful cultivation. All right, then I'll be borrowing your tent. Chu Fengyan glanced around the tent and nodded. This tent was an earth-grade spirit tool. It was perfect for cultivation. It was incomparably safe. Young master, feel free to use it. I'll guard you outside. After saying that, King of Sword Slayer retreated. Chu Fengyan's spiritual consciousness swept over. King of Sword Slayer left the tent and sat in front of it. He closed his eyes and began to cultivate. It seemed that he really wanted to guard Chu Fengyan. King of Sword Slayer is a man who knows how to repay kindness. Seeing this, Chu Fengyan nodded. He naturally didn't help the Sword Slayer monarch for anything in return. However, seeing that he was someone who knew how to repay kindness, Chu Fengyan felt a lot better. With the protection of the Sword Slayer monarch and this tent, Chu Feng was incomparably safe. With a thought, Chu Fengyan opened the empty ring. Within the empty ring, Chu Fengyan took out various mysterious items. Dragon blood crystals, blood essences of saints. Chu Fengyan took out all kinds of rare items and placed them in front of him. Some of these strange items were bought by Chu Fengyan at the auction. Some were obtained from the mysterious treasure pavilion, and some are found in Zhao Padi's empty ring. As a saint, Zhao Padi naturally had quite a bit of wealth. Chu Fengyan found many wondrous items useful to him and took them all out at once. Each of these miraculous items could increase Chu Fengyan's strength, but the increase wasn't great. It was far from comparable to the demonic blood in Zhao Padi's body or the 1,000-year-old dragon blood grass. Fortunately, there were dozens of them, which was enough to increase Chu Fengyan's strength to another level. With a thought, Chu Fengyan activated all the power of the battle dragon art. Behind Chu Fengyan, the shadow of the ancient battle dragon began to faintly appear. The shadow of the ancient battle dragon saw the countless strange items on the ground and immediately let out a long roar. It flew over and opened its mouth to devour them. Every time these strange items were devoured, they would continuously pour energy into Chu Fengmian's body. All of these energy were condensed into the shadow of the ancient battle dragon. Immediately, more drops of ancient era's war dragon blood essence were formed. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian's body trembled. The ancient battle dragon blood essence in his body condensed another 50 drops, allowing him to make a breakthrough to the 6th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. After reaching the 6th level of the Imperial Wind Realm, my strength should be close to that of a true 6th level Divine Power Realm Saint. I can rely on the abundant lush steel to fight against a 7th level Divine Power Realm Saint. However, it's still far from enough to subdue Ao Jinyuan. There was no joy on Chu Fengmian's face after his breakthrough. His strength was still insufficient. Right now, Chu Fengmian needed to reach a higher level. Only then would he have the confidence to truly subdue Ao Jinyuan. Saint Blood Essence, all of it. With a thought, 3 drops of Saint Blood Essence appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. These 3 drops of Saint Blood Essence were the ones Chu Fengmian had bought at the auction. They were the blood essence of Zhao Pedi and Yi Gufan, who Chu Fengmian had killed. Chu Fengmian hadn't completely infused these drops of blood essence into his sword of massacre. They were meant to help Chu Fengmian improve his cultivation. Saint Blood Essence was condensed from the purest spiritual energy. When it came to improving one's cultivation, it was much more effective than many strange items. No, it was more accurate to say that Saint Blood Essence was one of the strange items of heaven and earth. Chu Fengmian shouted and ignited the 3 drops of Saint Blood Essence at the same time. With a thought, Chu Fengmian absorbed all of the pure spiritual energy into his body. An endless stream of ancient battle dragon blood essence was condensed. Chu Fengmian's strength was still increasing. He suddenly felt that his strength had reached a critical point again. A total of 50 drops of ancient battle dragon blood essence were condensed. "Break!" Chu Fengmian shouted. His spiritual energy rose again, and a huge wave of spiritual energy rippled out from his body. Chu Fengmian's cultivation had finally reached the 7th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. This time, Chu Fengmian's face finally showed some joy. "Good. My cultivation has reached the 7th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. With the power of the abundant lush steel, subduing Ao Jinyuan won't be a problem," Chu Fengmian said. However, Chu Fengmian wasn't in a hurry to subdue Ao Jinyuan. He still needed to improve his strength. Now that his cultivation had reached a bottleneck, Chu Fengmian needed to borrow some external help. Chu Fengmian took out countless materials from his spatial ring. At the same time, he took out the Scarlet Flame Sword and began to refine it. The grade of the Scarlet Flame Sword was not enough for Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian wanted to refine the Scarlet Flame Sword with so many materials. With a thought, Chu Fengmian ignited the countless materials with the Scarlet Flame Sword and condensed together. In a short while, the countless materials merged with the Scarlet Flame Sword to form a brand new longsword. After the refine, the Scarlet Flame Sword's grade suddenly soared to the level of top Earth grade. This was the limit of Chu Fengmian's refining. After all, he wasn't a true master blacksmith. In addition, he didn't have good materials. Top Earth grade was his limit. Chapter 330. The power of the top Earth grade Scarlet Flame Sword was at least several times stronger than before. It was enough for Chu Fengmian. Now that the Scarlet Flame Sword had been reforged, there was only one last thing left for Chu Fengmian. It was also the most important thing. With a thought, the broken jar appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. It looked ordinary, but Chu Fengmian dared not underestimate it. It was an extreme grade immortal weapon that had surpassed the category of spirit tools. Even heaven grade spirit tools were trash in front of an extreme grade immortal weapon. Chu Fengmian dared not underestimate even the broken remains of the jar. Even people like Zhao Wudi longed for it and sent Zhao Xiong to buy it. If it weren't for Chu Fengmian, the broken jar might have fallen into Zhao Wudi's hands. I can't find out the identity of this jar. I'd better refine it first. Chu Fengmian studied it for a while, but he still couldn't find out the identity of the jar. There were very few records of extreme-grade immortal weapons in the ancient books, let alone this broken jar, which was just a remnant. With a thought, Chu Fengmian sent a stream of spiritual energy toward the jar, intending to refine it. Almost at the same time, Chu Fengmian condensed the dragon power of the primordial war dragon to the extreme and pressed it down, trying to resist the resistance of the broken jar. However, the refining process was much easier than Chu Fengmian had expected. The broken jar was easily refined by Chu Fengmian without much resistance. It's just a remnant after all, so it didn't resist much. Seeing that the broken jar was refined, Chu Fengmian breathed a sigh of relief. Refining an extreme-grade immortal weapon was 100 times or even 1,000 times more difficult than refining a heaven-grade spirit tool. Fortunately, the broken jar was just a remnant. If it were a real extreme-grade immortal weapon, Chu Fengmian might not be able to refine it even if he gave it to him now. No, he definitely couldn't refine it. Only a life-and-death realm expert who had gone through a life-and-death tribulation and comprehended the mysteries of life and death could refine an extreme-grade immortal weapon. With Chu Fengmian's current strength, it was impossible for him to do so. Let me take a look at this broken jar. What is its origin? With a thought, Chu Fengmian activated the power of the broken jar. Suddenly, the word human appeared in Chu Fengmian's mind. Following the appearance of the character human, an extremely vast power burst forth. This power was so great that it seemed to be one of the greatest powers in the world. What kind of power is this? How could it be so grand? Who was the person who forged this extreme, Tao, immortal weapon? Which ancient almighty is it? Countless thoughts flashed through Chu Fengmian's mind. Extreme Tao immortal armaments were also refined by humans. Very few of them were born from nature. The word human represented the identity of the jar. Such great power. The human character. Could it be the ancient human emperor? A scene suddenly flashed through Chu Fengmian's mind. According to the ancient records, the moment the world was created, it was the time of desolation. At that time, hundreds of races stood in great numbers. It wasn't until the emergence of countless human emperors that the current status of the human race was established. The human emperor was an outstanding figure among the countless human emperors. He was said to be the one who enlightened humanity and opened up wisdom. He had an extremely great mind. Such a great power could only belong to the human emperor. This jar is actually the human emperor jar. In the past, the human emperor's spiritual tool was a jar filled with water. Chu Fengmian didn't expect that this broken jar was actually the famous human emperor jar. This jar looked ordinary, but in fact, it contained the true power of the human emperor. Just by activating it, Chu Fengmian could feel the terror of the power inside. Just activating it once drained Chu Fengmian's power. Even with the divine veins, he couldn't recover instantly. If I want to fully activate this jar, my realm must reach the divine power realm. Only when my strength is enough to contend against life and death realm experts can I use it freely. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but sigh. His realm was still too low. Now that the jar was in Chu Fengmian's hands, he couldn't use its full power. However, Chu Fengmian was rejoicing inwardly. Fortunately, the emperor jar hadn't fallen into Zhao Wudi's hands. Otherwise, when he crossed the life and death calamity and stepped into the life and death realm, who would be his opponent under the heavens? This mortal emperor jar was actually broken by someone. I wonder what kind of battle he went through to be able to break an extreme immortal weapon. Chu Fengmian looked at the jar and couldn't help but sigh. He had already sensed that the jar was only a part of the real emperor jar, about a quarter of it. A quarter of the jar was enough to release such a terrifying power. Chu Fengmian believed that if he activated the jar at full power, even a peak saint would be injured if he wasn't prepared. However, Chu Fengmian couldn't use it at will. He could only use it as his final trump card. Once he activated the jar, Chu Fengmian wouldn't be able to use his spiritual power for at least 3 seconds. 3 seconds was enough for a saint to kill Chu Fengmian countless times. Therefore, Chu Fengmian wouldn't use it unless he had no other choice. With this emperor jar, I can somewhat contend with Zhao Wudi. However, if I want to defeat Zhao Wudi, I'll have to increase my strength. Right now, Family Zhao's people were all searching for mysterious items in the ancient ruins of Joshi country. Now was the best time to pull out Family Zhao's countless roots. Before the experts of Family Zhao returned, Chu Fumian had to pull out all of Family Zhao's roots and turn Family Zhao into a general without an army. Chu Fumian stood up and put away the jar. Then, he walked out with large strides. Sword Slayer King, your sword skills have improved quite a bit. Chu Fumian walked out and saw Sword Slayer King, who was guarding outside, smiling. Compared to a few days ago, the sword intent on the Sword Slayer King's body was much purer and sharper. Young Master has come out. Sword Slayer King hurriedly stood up after hearing Chu Fumian's words. Thank you for your guidance, young Master. No problem. Where's Prince of Bloodkill? Where's he? Chu Fumian waved his hand and said. Now that Chu Fumian's strength had greatly increased, it was time to deal with the Destruction Legion. Prince of Bloodkill is waiting in the camp. Sword Slayer King said. Good. Chu Fumian's feet moved and his figure disappeared. He went directly to the camp. Today's 6th update is complete. I'll update again tomorrow. If you enjoy reading, please support me. Chapter 331. Sorry to keep you waiting, Prince of Bloodkill. In the camp, the space was shattered and a young figure walked out from the space. The young figure was Chu Fumian. It's only been a few days. Prince of Bloodkill saw Chu Fumian and walked over. He sized Chu Fumian up and his eyes suddenly changed. Young Master Chu, you have a breakthrough again? The Prince of Bloodkill's words were filled with astonishment. Prince of Bloodkill saw that Chu Fumian's aura was several times stronger than before. This also meant that Chu Fumian had a breakthrough in his cultivation realm in just a few days. Chu Fumian's strength was strange and powerful. Even his cultivation realm had a breakthrough so fast. Judging from this change, Chu Fumian's cultivation realm had at least increased by 2 levels. Although the breakthrough in the Imperial Wind realm was many times easier than the Divine Power realm, it was extremely fast for those geniuses to break through 1 level in half a year or even a year. But now, Chu Fumian had broken through 2 levels in just a few days. This speed was so fast that Prince of Bloodkill couldn't believe it for a moment. Not bad. I did have a breakthrough in my cultivation realm. Chu Fumian nodded and didn't explain anything. The battle dragon art he cultivated was different from ordinary cultivation techniques. Ordinary cultivation techniques, no matter how much resources they had, required a certain amount of time to accumulate and comprehend. However, Chu Fumian's battle dragon art could be broken through quickly as long as there were enough resources and he didn't encounter any bottlenecks. However, the battle dragon art wasn't invincible. Each breakthrough required an astronomical amount of resources. For example, when Chu Fumian wanted to break through to the next level, the amount of resources he needed to break through to the next level was much more than what a saint at the Divine Force realm needed to break through to the next level. Without sufficient resources, giving this dragon battle art to others would only be a useless cultivation technique. Hence, Chu Fumian could only keep accumulating resources to support his continuous cultivation and advancement. This person is really too terrifying. I wonder if it's a blessing or a curse for Princess Tianyin to cooperate with him. Prince of Bloodkill looked at Chu Fumian and murmured in his heart. Originally, Prince of Bloodkill was confident that he could keep Chu Fumian in check if he cooperated with him. But now, Chu Fumian's strength had made another breakthrough, and he had taken control of the Qin Shi Huang army. If Chu Fumian really fell out with the imperial family, then it would be a big problem no smaller than Family Zhao. Fortunately, this person's character is very clear. As long as you don't provoke him, he won't turn hostile. The Prince of Bloodkill let out a sigh of relief when he thought of this. Chu Fumian wasn't a temperamental person. What does young Master Chu plan to do next? Prince of Bloodkill suddenly said. Now that the Qin Shi Huang army had been subdued, the internal threat had been eliminated, and only Family Zhao was left. Of course we have to deal with the Annihilation Legion first. Chu Fumian said coldly. Although the Annihilation Legion claims to be neutral, there are signs that they're joining forces with Family Zhao. If we don't take care of the Destruction Legion now, they'll help Family Zhao in the future. If they turn on us and attack us, it'll be a big problem for us. Instead of sitting around and waiting for death, we might as well take care of them now. Let's go. Take me to the Annihilation Legion. Every word Chu Fengmian said was so domineering that no one could refute it. This was the aura of a natural overlord. Even the Prince of Bloodkill was stunned when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. He didn't dare to refute and only reacted after a long time. Young Master Chu, are you really going to deal with the Annihilation Legion? The Prince of Bloodkill asked in disbelief. He thought Chu Fengmian was just joking. After all, the Annihilation Legion was such a big monster that it wasn't easy to deal with. It could be said that the entire Annihilation Legion was strong enough to fight against some small countries. It wasn't easy to deal with them. Of course. Why should we keep such a big problem? Chu Fengmian said indifferently. Now that Family Zhao isn't here, it's the best chance to deal with the Annihilation Legion. We can prevent Family Zhao's people from interfering. But even if Family Zhao isn't here, the Annihilation Legion isn't that easy to deal with. The Annihilation Legion has 3 vice commanders. Except for Yuan Kun, the other 2 are as strong as the Tai army god. The first commander, Ao Jinyuan, is a peerless expert in the 7th tier of the divine power realm. Even a peaked saint can't subdue him. The Prince of Bloodkill said, sounding very worried. Currently, the relationship between the Imperial family and the Annihilation Legion was peaceful. If Chu Fengmian went to the Annihilation Legion and failed to subdue them, he would push the Annihilation Legion to Family Zhao's side. This made the Prince of Bloodkill hesitate. Chu Fengmian said calmly, but sounded irresistible. Now that the Annihilation Legion has secretly joined forces with Family Zhao, it doesn't matter even if they have a falling out. As for Ao Jinyuan, I'm confident that I can subdue him. Okay, I'll take you to the Annihilation Legion's barracks. The Prince of Bloodkill's forehead was dripping with sweat. In front of Chu Fengmian, he was under great pressure. Even the Tai army god had been defeated by Chu Fengmian. The Prince of Bloodkill, who was only in the 4th tier of the divine power realm, was like an ant in front of Chu Fengmian. He would be killed in an instant. The 2 figures left the barracks in an instant. They broke through space and flew to the south of the Qin Empire. The Annihilation Legion was stationed in the south of the Qin Empire's army. They had broken away from the imperial family's control and had formed their own faction in the south. They had become kings. When a saint broke through space, they could fly 10,000 miles in a day. However, even for a saint like the Prince of Bloodkill, each time he broke through space, it consumed a lot of energy. After a few times, his spiritual energy was exhausted and he needed to rest. I'll take you there. You can help me lead the way. Chu Fengmian glanced at the Prince of Bloodkill, then waved his hand and took him to the south. Chu Fengmian's speed was many times faster than when he was with the Prince of Bloodkill. This speed made the Prince of Bloodkill speechless. What made the Prince of Bloodkill even more shocked was that Chu Fengmian didn't take a break while breaking through space. It was as if his spiritual energy was endless. In just a few hours, Chu Fengmian had crossed half of the Qin Empire and arrived in the south. Even if I don't have a good relationship with this person, I can't be his enemy. Otherwise, I will die without a burial place. The Prince of Bloodkill's heart was cold. He secretly made up his mind that no matter what, he couldn't provoke Chu Fengmian. Today's first update. Many people said that 6 updates a day wasn't slow. If there was enough time, they would update more. Chapter 332. A few hours later, Chu Fengmian traveled through half of the Qin Empire and finally came to a huge city, the ancient city of Shou Province. The ancient city of Shou Province was one of the biggest cities in the Qin Empire. Although it was not as prosperous as the 9-tripod ancient city, it still had a population of more than 100 million. The Destruction Legion was located in the ancient city of Shou Province, like a local tyrant. Young Master Chu, should we go and inform the Annihilation Legion's experts to come out? Prince of Bloodkill stood outside the ancient city of Shou Province and asked. After all, the Destruction Legion was not to be trifled with. He came here to win over Chu Fengmian. He did not want their relationship to be strained. Inform? No need. The higher-ups of the Destruction Legion are all gathered together. We can go directly. Chu Fengyan waved his hand and took Prince of Bloodkill. They turned into a beam of light and rushed into the ancient city of Shou Province. The ancient city of Shou Province's countless restriction arrays were nothing in front of Chu Fengyan. Young Master Chu, you can break the restriction arrays of the ancient city of Shou Province? Prince of Bloodkill wanted to remind Chu Fengyan that he could not break into the ancient city of Shou Province. The ancient city of Shou Prefecture was the headquarters of the Destruction Legion. It was filled with countless restrictive spells and spell formations. Even a saint would be killed if they rashly entered it. But now, before he could say anything, Chu Fengyan had taken him into the ancient city of the Shou Province. Countless restriction arrays were nothing in front of Chu Fengyan. They could not stop him at all. You want to stop me with these clumsy restriction arrays? What a joke. Chu Fengyan said disdainfully. He was familiar with countless ancient restriction arrays. Perhaps Chu Fengyan would be afraid of the truly powerful ancient restriction arrays. But these small restriction arrays in the ancient city of Shou Province were full of loopholes in his eyes. Naturally, he did not care about them and directly went through them. Hearing Chu Fengyan's words, Prince of Bloodkill felt helpless. The ancient city of Shou Province had layers upon layers of restrictive formations. It could be said that it was famous in the entire Qin Empire. But now, from Chu Fengyan's mouth, it only received a clumsy evaluation. However, there was indeed no way to refute it, because this formation could not stop Chu Fengyan at all. A beam of light flew towards the depths of the ancient city of Shou Province without anyone noticing. At the same time, Chu Fengyan's spiritual awareness quietly penetrated into the depths of the ancient city of Shou Province. In a huge palace, there were countless thrones, just like the barracks of the Qin Shi army. The highest throne was carved with countless images of true dragons. Only the imperial family could use the images of true dragons. From this, one could see how ambitious the Destruction Legion was. The throne at the very top belonged to Ao Jinyuan, the first commander of the Shatter Legion. Below them were 3 smaller thrones, which represented the 3 vice commanders of the Shatter Legion. Yuan Kun, whose arm had been cut off by Chu Fengyan in the 9 Cauldrons ancient city, was sitting in one of the thrones. His arm had been regenerated, but his strength had weakened a lot. He was only at the 5th level of the Divine Power Realm. Losing an arm was not important, but the Saint Blood essence in it had brought him a lot of trouble, which had caused his cultivation to regress. Below the 3 smaller thrones, there were 12 smaller thrones. The people sitting on these thrones were the generals of the Shatter Legion. They were all first-class experts in the outside world. The overall strength of everyone present was close to that of the Qin Shi army. However, Ao Jinyuan, who was at the 7th level of the Divine Power Realm, was among them, so their overall strength surpassed the Qin Shi army. Now, all the thrones were filled with people. Obviously, they were discussing something important. About the Zhao family's proposal, what do you think? Ao Jinyuan, who was sitting on the highest throne, suddenly asked. Family Zhao's people have already promised us benefits. As long as we are willing to help them overthrow the royal family, we will still be the overlord of the south and be bestowed the title of king. Commander, I think we should ally with Family Zhao. Family Zhao is very powerful now, and Zhao Wudi is about to cross the life and death calamity and become the first life and death realm expert in the Qin Shi country. Allying with Family Zhao will bring us great benefits. After Ao Jinyuan finished speaking, Yuan Kun, who was sitting below, directly spoke. Earlier, when he wanted to save Zhao Padi, he had already contacted Family Zhao. Now, he naturally supported Family Zhao. For what benefits? Our Destruction Legion is the overlord of the South, the uncrowned king. Do you think a mere title of king can buy us over and fight against the royal family? What a joke. Sitting next to Yuan Kun, another vice commander, heard Yuan Kun's words and immediately spoke. Yuan Kun, don't think that we don't know that just because you receive benefits from Family Zhao. You can take benefits from Family Zhao, but don't sell your life for Family Zhao. In the Destruction Legion, not everyone was willing to ally with Family Zhao. Vice Commander was one of those who supported the neutral position. Moreover, the situation is still uncertain. Let's wait and see. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. If the royal family was so easy to deal with, they wouldn't have existed for thousands of years. Vice Commander Red coldly snorted and spoke. Feng Yan, don't slander me. When did I receive benefits from family Zhao? Hearing Vice Commander Red's words, Yuan Kun was furious. Now that Zhao Wudi is about to cross the life and death calamity and become the first life and death realm expert in the Qin Shi Huang country, we still insist on standing with the royal family. Do you all want to be the subjects of a fallen nation? If we ally with family Zhao now, we'll all be the founding monarchs of a nation. Indeed, we can't be too hasty in allying with family Zhao. However, I heard that there's a new situation recently. Yuan Kun, who cut off your arm. The last vice commander spoke. He was an extremely old man who seemed to be nearing the end of his lifespan. His face was extremely calm. The tone of his voice was also very gentle, and he looked like a calm old man. Humph, I still haven't found out who that person is. However, I heard that he's related to the Twilight Pavilion and has sold a lot of spirit tools from them. It's very likely that he's a genius secretly cultivated by the royal family. However, no matter how strong he is, he's only on par with me. Don't worry too much about him. Yuan Kun spoke. When he mentioned Chu Fengyan, his tone was filled with resentment. For a veteran expert like him to have his arm cut off by an unknown junior was a great humiliation. He couldn't wait to find Chu Fengyan right now to seek revenge and wash away his shame. Second update. Chapter 333. When I have the chance to meet him again, I will definitely kill him. Yuan Kun snorted coldly. Before he could finish his sentence, a mocking voice suddenly resounded throughout the entire palace. Really? I'm standing here today. Let's see how you're going to kill me. The space shattered, and two figures suddenly came out and entered the palace. These two figures were Chu Fengyan and Prince of Bloodkill. Who's there? How could someone break into the palace? What's going on? Seeing Chu Fengyan's sudden appearance, everyone present was stunned and taken aback. This palace was located in the deepest part of the ancient city of Shou province. It was set up with countless restriction arrays. Even a saint couldn't enter. But now, Chu Fengyan and the Bloodkill Prince had swaggered in as if the countless restrictions and array formations were nothing to them. Boy, how dare you come to the ancient city of Shou province? Yuan Kun saw Chu Fengyan, and the anger in his heart suddenly surged. His hatred for Chu Fengyan was like an endless Milky Way. Unless he killed Chu Fengyan, his hatred would never be quelled. The moment he saw Chu Fengyan, all the hatred in his heart was fully displayed. His spiritual energy suddenly burst out, and he couldn't wait to attack Chu Fengyan. Yuan Kun, who's this man? Do you know him? Feng Yan, who was sitting next to him, said with his eyes wide open. Of course, he knew Prince of Bloodkill beside Chu Fengyan, but he had never seen Chu Fengyan before. He was a stranger. Looking at Chu Fengyan's realm, although he was only at 7th level of the Imperial Wind Realm, Chu Fengyan could pass through layers of restriction arrays and enter the palace. Obviously, Chu Fengyan wasn't an ordinary person. Of course, I know him. He's the one who cut off my arm. Yuan Kun roared angrily. Well, today you dare to trespass into the ancient city of Shou province. It seems that you're tired of living. Today is the day I settle the score with you. The moment Yuan Kun spoke, the power of yin and yang and 5 elements burst out from his body. He was ready to attack at any time. Stop! The chief commander, Jinin, who was sitting on the highest throne, shouted coldly and immediately quieted down. Prince of Bloodkill, why did you trespass into the ancient city of Shou province? Said Ao Jinyuan, looking at Prince Bloodkill. Obviously, he didn't put Prince Bloodkill in his eyes at all. If you don't give me a reason today, both of you will die here. Even if you're a prince of the imperial family, you can't trespass into the ancient Shou province. The moment Ao Jinyuan spoke, it was clear that he didn't even care about the imperial family. As a local tyrant, Ao Jinyuan obviously didn't put the imperial family in his eyes. The moment he opened his mouth, He directly said that if they didn't give an explanation today, the Bloodkill Prince and Chu Fengmian wouldn't be able to leave alive. The Bloodkill Grand Prince was about to answer, but he was interrupted by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian took the lead and stepped forward to speak to Ao Jinyuan. The reason why we've come today is naturally because of the Zhao family. Brat, who are you? Let the Bloodkill Prince speak. You are not qualified to talk to me. Ao Jinyuan looked at Chu Fengmian with disdain. A wind-controlling realm warrior was like an ant in his eyes. He wasn't qualified to talk to him at all. My name is Chu Han, the great commander of the Qin Shi Huang army. What? Am I not qualified to talk to you? Chu Fengmian sneered and said calmly. This sentence caused the calm atmosphere to become even more turbulent. What? The great commander of the Qin Shi Huang army? The Qin Shi Huang army let a wind-controlling realm brat be the great commander? Is the Qin Shi Huang army crazy? Ha ha ha. Has the Qin Shi Huang army declined to this point? Even a kid at the wind-resisting realm can be the commander. Why don't you let us go? We're all saints after all. Prince Bloodkill, where did your imperial family find such a lunatic? Did you bring him here to make us laugh? Everyone on the scene was laughing. A warrior of the wind-controlling realm could become the great commander of the Qin Shi Huang army, which was something that no one could imagine. After all, the Qin Shi Huang army was one of the 3 armies that were as famous as the Destruction Army. If this news spread out, it would be a laughingstock. Who is he? Chu Fengmian glanced at the general of the Annihilation Legion who had mocked Chu Fengmian. This is Zhong Zhennan, the general of the Destruction Army. He's a saint at the 4th level of the Divine Power Realm. He's Yuan Kun's #1 subordinate. Prince Bloodkill heard Chu Fengmian's words and whispered to him. Oh, you're Zhong Zhennan, the general of the Destruction Army, right? Since you look down on me, I'll teach you a lesson today. Chu Fengmian's eyes were cold. He suddenly raised his hand, which turned into a giant hand of spiritual energy, and slapped toward Zhong Zhennan. Kneel down. Although Chu Fengmian only used half of his strength, it was enough to deal with a saint at the 4th level of the Divine Power Realm. Under this palm, Zhong Zhennan's body was stimulated with endless spiritual energy. Obviously, the moment Chu Fengmian attacked, he was already prepared. What a joke. A wind-controlling realm brat wants me kneel down? You attacked Brother Yuan and injured him. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on his behalf. Zhong Zhennan sneered. An endless wild wind swept out from his body. 1,000 miles of wind kill. 1,000 miles of no one. Destroy. Endless wild wind blasted out from Zhong Zhennan's hand. Every gust of wind was like a sharp sword, trying to pierce Chu Fengmian. There was no way to escape from such a wild wind. If one was sucked into it, they would at least be seriously injured. You want to deal with me? You're too weak. Break. Chu Fengmian's face was calm, without the slightest fluctuation. He just waved his hand, and a gust of spiritual energy blasted out. The endless wild wind was immediately shattered by Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy. It was dispersed and dissolved in an instant. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's giant hand of spiritual energy had already arrived in front of Zhong Zhennan. As the palm fell, it contained endless spiritual energy. Zhong Zhennan's face stiffened, and his body fell straight from the throne, kneeling in front of Chu Fengmian. Zhong Zhennan, the general of the Destruction Army, was captured by Chu Fengmian in one move and forced to kneel on the ground. Many people didn't expect this result. Seeing that Zhong Zhennan was captured, the surrounding 5 or 6 generals attacked at the same time. Countless martial arts blasted toward Chu Fengmian. Damn it, this guy is so arrogant. He dares to attack in the ancient city of Shou province. He doesn't put us in his eyes at all. Kill this guy and save Zhong Zhennan. Thank you for your tip. Today's 3rd update. Chapter 334. The Destruction Legion had a high status in the Qin Empire. Both the imperial family and the Zhao family were extremely courteous to them. But now, Zhong Zhennan was suppressed by Chu Fengmian in the ancient city of Shou province, and he was forced to kneel on the ground. This was a great insult to the generals of the Destruction Legion. They attacked Chu Fengmian one by one, wanting to kill him. A bunch of useless chickens and pottery dogs. It's meaningless no matter how many of you come. Break for me. Chu Fumian's eyes flickered. The power of the 400 drops of ancient war dragon blood essence in his body was pushed to the extreme. Then, Chu Fumian's hands fell from the sky. They seemed to have turned into two huge dragon claws. The dragon scales on them were clearly visible. They were no different from real dragon claws. The two dragon claws contained the real majesty of the war dragon. It made everyone feel that their opponent was not a human, but a real ancient war dragon. The two dragon claws broke through the sky and resisted the martial techniques of the crowd. Boom, boom, boom. Countless martial techniques hit the two dragon claws, but they did not move at all. No matter how many martial techniques hit them, they could not move them at all. The difference in power was like the difference between a real dragon and a mortal. No matter how hard they tried, they could not move them. Bang! The two dragon claws slashed through the air. Immediately, the generals who attacked were sent flying and vomited blood. His attack this time was simply earth-shattering. Facing the joint attack of 5 or 6 saints, he had easily neutralized it. Instead, he had injured them one by one. Boy, you are too arrogant. This is the ancient city of Shou province. Even the emperor would not dare to be presumptuous here. You are too arrogant. Seeing the generals being sent flying and injured, Zhong Jinan was furious. One of the 3 vice commanders, Vice Commander Hong, Feng Yin, finally could not help but take action. As soon as he attacked, endless flames gathered and turned into a sea of fire. The sea of fire was like the scorching sun in the sky. It was extremely hot inside the eternal star. The boiling heat made Prince of Bloodkill retreat quickly. He did not dare to be affected by it. This man is Feng Yin, a terrifying expert at the 6th level of the divine power realm. He is even stronger than God of War Tai. You must be careful. Prince of Bloodkill reminded Chu Fengyin as he retreated. Although they were both saints at the 6th level of the divine force realm, Feng Yan's strength was still above Tai Junshin's. After all, the war god Tai was already old, and his strength was not as strong as before. On the other hand, Feng Yin was in his prime, and the flames on his body were even more powerful. Once this flame appeared, even the Grand Commander Ao Jinyuan, who was at the 7th level of the divine force realm, had to retreat. He didn't dare to face it head-on. A saint at the 6th level of the divine force realm. Although your strength isn't bad, you want to make an enemy out of me? It was still impossible. Break for me. What kind of flames are they? Break them all. Chu Fumian glanced at Feng Yin. In the face of the endless flames, he did not dodge. With a thought, the scarlet flame sword appeared in his hand. As soon as the scarlet flame sword appeared, Chu Fengyan's aura was completely different from before. As a sword cultivator, Chu Fengyan's greatest strength was when he wielded his sword. Sword Chi, 1,000 strikes. Chop, chop, slash. The moment the scarlet flame sword in Chu Fengyan's hand slashed down, 1,000 rays of sword Chi burst out at the same time. 1,000 strikes. This was the terrifying power that came from comprehending the sword Tao to the extreme. A single ray of sword Chi was equivalent to 1,000 rays of sword Chi being unleashed at the same time. The power of a single sword was terrifying by 1,000 times. Where did this person come from? How could he have such a terrifying sword technique? Feng Yan's expression changed when he saw Chu Fengyan unleashing 1,000 rays of sword Chi. This sword technique was indeed frighteningly powerful. But so what if your sword technique is strong? I don't believe that a junior like you can overturn the heavens when you're in the wind-controlling realm. Blazing star, devour everything. All of the sword Chi, dissolve it. Feng Yan roared. The blazing sun in the sky suddenly emitted endless flames. These flames burned the rays of sword Chi as if they were going to melt them all. His flames could burn everything in the world. Even invisible things like sword Chi could be burned by them. You want to melt my sword Chi? Even those old fellows from the Medicine King Valley wouldn't dare to say that. Little blazing sun, kill them all. Chu Fengyan laughed loudly. Rays of sword Chi broke through the flames and slashed at the blazing sun in the sky. Immediately, 1,000 rays of sword chi slashed at the same time. In a flash, the blazing sun in the sky was cut into pieces and fell down. Who is this person? Is he really the new great commander of the Qin Shi Huang army? This kind of strength. It's not impossible for him to become the great commander. Where did the royal family find such a strange kid? He killed a saint with the wind controlling realm. What kind of strength is this? This kind of person shouldn't exist in the 9 regions. I heard that this kid defeated Yuan Kun. Wasn't a sneak attack. Now, it seems that it wasn't a sneak attack. Feng Yan's blazing sun was shattered. Yuan Kun fought with him and lost an arm. This guy was already merciful. The appearance of such a character is definitely a variable. Zhao Wudi was able to break through to the life and death realm. This is something that no one in our Qin Shi Huang country has done in 1,000 years. This is already a variable. Now that this kid has appeared, is the Qin Shi Huang country going to have a big change? It's not a good thing for our Destruction Legion to be enemies with such a person. The saints who didn't take action stood aside and talked with each other. They were all saints with great wisdom. They had their own considerations, so they wouldn't take action rashly. They were all analyzing the gains and losses. What do you think? This time, you can prove my strength. Chu Fumian's sword broke the blazing sun, but he stopped and didn't continue. Instead, he coldly scanned the crowd. In particular, his gaze finally landed on Ao Jinyuan. I wonder if I'm qualified to speak this time? Yes, you're Chu Han, the great commander of the Qin Shi Huang army? Ao Jinyuan looked at Chu Fumian expressionlessly. No one knew what he was thinking. Why did you come to the ancient city of Shou province to look for the Destruction Legion? You're not here to show off, right? Ao Jinyuan looked at Chu Fumian and said coldly, Show off? I'm not interested in that. It's just that you don't believe in my strength, so I showed a little bit of it. Chu Fumian said calmly, I came to the ancient city of Shou province to look for you all for one thing. I want the Destruction Legion to submit to the royal family and fight family Zhao with them. Chapter 335. Chu Fumian's words shocked everyone. The entire palace was eerily quiet. Not a single sound could be heard. It seemed that no one dared to disturb the current peace. Asking the Shatter Legion to submit was such arrogant words. Even family Zhao's people weren't so arrogant. When family Zhao had talked to the Shatter Legion, he had only asked for cooperation, not submission. Submission. The Shatter Legion's power was comparable to some small countries. How could they submit? Even Prince Bloodkill was dumbfounded when he heard Chu Fumian's words. He was speechless, not knowing what to say. He had thought that Chu Fumian had come to the ancient city of Shou province just to show off his strength and talk about cooperation with the Shatter Legion. But now, Chu Fumian had directly asked the Shatter Legion to submit, which made Prince Bloodkill dumbfounded. He couldn't say anything. The atmosphere suddenly reached a freezing point. Countless experts of the Shatter Legion were filled with anger. You want the Shatter Legion to submit? Kid, are you crazy? Or do you think that the Shatter Legion will be afraid of you if you show off your strength? A mocking voice resounded in the palace. It was Yuan Kun who had spoken. As soon as he spoke, countless experts around him also spoke at the same time. That's right. No matter who you are, we won't submit to you. Even if your emperor comes, we won't submit. Arrogant. He's too arrogant. This kid is really arrogant to the extreme. Countless generals said angrily. Hearing the angry voices of the crowd, Yuan Kun smiled inwardly and deliberately shouted, Guys, let's take action together and suppress this kid. We'll make him kneel in front of the ancient city of Shou province. We'll show the others that the Shatter Legion isn't easy to mess with. Hearing Yuan Kun's words, the eyes of the countless experts present moved. They were eager to try and attack Chu Fumian at any time. They were ready to attack together. Really? Let's see who dares. Chu Feng Mian's spirit force burst out without any concealment. He frowned and laughed. Every word he said was sharp. It was extremely domineering. Chu Fumian was simply a dragon among men. With just one sentence, no one present dared to refute Chu Fumian's words. They were all subdued by Chu Fumian's imposing manner. You all of you, Yuan Kun's expression changed drastically when he saw that Chu Fengmian's words had broken his incitement for a long time. He hated Chu Fengmian to the bone. The reason he was trying to drive a wedge between Chu Fengmian and him was so that he could borrow the power of the Annihilation Legion to kill Chu Fengmian. Even if he couldn't kill Chu Fengmian, he wanted to humiliate Chu Fengmian to ease his anger. However, at that moment, Chu Fengmian's words actually caused everyone present to not dare to attack. That's right. Even Feng Yin wasn't Chu Fengmian's opponent. If any of them were to make a move, they would be courting death. Of all the people present, only Ao Jinyuan could truly fight Chu Fengmian. Commander, are you just going to watch this brat act arrogantly in the ancient city of Shou Province? Our Shatter Legion has never been humiliated like this in hundreds of years. If we don't teach this brat a lesson today, any Tom, Dick, or Harry will dare to provoke our Shatter Legion tomorrow. Yuan Kun said to Ao Jinyuan, who was sitting on the highest throne, in a tearful voice. This Yuan Kun had a glib tongue. Obviously, he wanted to borrow the power of the Annihilation Legion to deal with Chu Fengmian for his own revenge. However, he said it as if it was for the sake of the Annihilation Legion's reputation. His words infuriated everyone. Suppress him. We must suppress him. The reputation of our Shatter Legion that has been preserved for thousands of years cannot be blasphemed. Everyone, let's attack together and suppress this brat. I don't believe that his strength is so strange that he can compete with all of us. That's right. Let's attack together. We can definitely kill him. His strength is so strange. He must have endless fortuitous encounters. Kill him, and his fortuitous encounters will be ours. All the saints looked at Chu Fengmian. Their spiritual energy surged, as if they would attack at any time to kill Chu Fengmian. Yuan Kun, you have a glib tongue. You try to sow discord. I once spared your life, but I didn't expect you to be so unrepentant. Well, I can spare your life, and I can kill you today. Die for me. Chu Fengmian looked at Yuan Kun and snorted coldly. Yuan Kun's glib tongue was really good at sowing discord. Chu Fengmian had just intimidated everyone present, and Yuan Kun's words provoked him again. Chu Fengmian once spared him, and he was a scourge. Today, Chu Fengmian wanted to kill Yuan Kun again. Sword. Chu Fengmian slashed out with the scarlet flame sword in his hand, which turned into a sharp sword energy. This sharp sword energy cut through the space and immediately slashed toward Yuan Kun. Chu Fengmian showed no mercy with this sword energy. He clearly wanted to kill Yuan Kun. Junior, you've gone too far. An angry shout suddenly rang out. The moment this angry shout rang out, the whole world was filled with ghostly wails and howls. Countless ghost claws appeared in the sky and completely blocked Chu Fengmian's sword energy. Ao Jinyuan, do you want to stop me? The person who suddenly attacked was the commander of the Destruction Legion, Ao Jinyuan. Only he had the strength to save Yuan Kun from Chu Fengmian's hands. Junior, this is the ancient city of Shou Province. It's our Destruction Legion. You want to kill people here? You're too arrogant. Moreover, you want us to submit to you today. Our Destruction Legion will never submit to anyone. Ao Jinyuan looked at Chu Fengmian with an angry face. He was also infuriated by Chu Fengmian's words. He, Ao Jinyuan, had always regarded himself as an emperor. How could he be provoked like this? If your imperial family has some sincerity and comes to beg our Destruction Legion, we might cooperate with you to deal with family Zhao. Unfortunately, you're too arrogant. Kneel down and beg me to hand over the remains of the extreme Dao celestial weapon. Only then will our Destruction Legion cooperate with your imperial family. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving today if you don't give us an explanation. He naturally knew that Chu Fengmian had obtained the remains of the extreme Dao celestial weapon. Ao Jinyuan had been coveting the remains of the extreme Dao celestial weapon for a long time. Today, he would use this opportunity to take the remains of the extreme Dao celestial weapon away from Chu Fengmian. Ao Jinyuan didn't hide the threat in his words. If Chu Fengmian didn't hand over the remains of the extreme Dao celestial weapon, Chu Fengmian and Prince of Bloodkill wouldn't be able to leave unscathed. However, since Chu Fengmian had come today, he had no intention of leaving. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.